Chapter 3252. Soon, Luli showed up. He was not at the immortal rainbow universe, but a small universe controlled by the immortal rainbow race. Luli took action and attacked the main city of the small universe. He killed the 4 Saint Kings guarding the small universe and over 10,000 warriors. Half of the city was destroyed by Luli. Many castles were destroyed as well. After Luli attacked this city, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he went to attack the other 2 cities. There were no Saint Emperors in these 2 cities because almost all the Saint Emperors of this world had been mobilized to the immortal rainbow world. If Luli had stayed, he could have leveled the small universe and killed all the rainbow race warriors there. Luli left at once. He believed that the powerful warriors of the rainbow race, who were close to the consummate realm, would take action. If he stayed, he would be in big trouble. The chief patriarch of the rainbow race came in person with a group of Saint Kings to hunt Luli down. However, as soon as they arrived, they received another piece of news. Luli had gone to another place and destroyed the main city of that place. He had slaughtered 3 Saint Kings and tens of thousands of soldiers there. The chief patriarch of the rainbow race almost lost his mind. The rainbow race had many Saint Kings, but they could not stand Luli's slaughter. At this rate, in a few years, all the Saint Kings of the rainbow race would be gone. By then, even if the 3 patriarchs were still alive, the rainbow race would not be far from extinction. The rise of any major race was stained with blood. To rise meant to expand their territory and to fight for other territories and resources. They had to snatch meat from other major races. Over the years, the rainbow race had offended many major races. They had made many enemies. But the Hu race was behind the rainbow race. Therefore, no major race dared to challenge the rainbow race. That being said, one had to be strong. The rainbow race was not strong enough. Naturally, the Hu race would not value them. They would be abandoned mercilessly. While flying to the other universe, the chief patriarch of the rainbow race sent a message back to ask their patriarch to take action as well and a team of powerful warriors to hunt down Luli. Otherwise, he would be led around by the nose by Luli. As he had expected, when he arrived at the second universe, another piece of news came. The third universe was under attack. 3 Saint Kings were killed and tens of thousands of warriors were killed. In just a few days, they had destroyed 3 realms, massacred tens of thousands of soldiers, and killed 10 Saint Emperors. These Saint Emperors were nothing, and neither were these soldiers. The biggest problem was the vile influence. The entire chaotic star region was watching. Luli had just attacked the immortal Rainbow Mountain and 3 universes in a row. It seemed that the rainbow race could not do anything to Luli. Would the rainbow race still be useful? The second patriarch of the rainbow race came with nearly 100 Saint Emperors. The chief patriarch went to a nearby universe in advance to wait for Luli to attack. The news quickly spread to the immortal rainbow world and the heavenly god city. After that, the entire city exploded. Originally, the group of young masters and young mistresses were bored, but now they realized that it was quite fun here. At least they could watch the show. They could watch Luli challenge a major race all by himself. They could place bets on where Luli would attack next. To bet on when the rainbow race could capture Luli? Or they could never catch Luli. Watch the show from a close distance. 5 days later, Luli's next attack came. This time, he did not attack the universes controlled by the rainbow race. Instead, he entered the immortal rainbow world and attacked a major city of the rainbow race. There were more than a dozen Saint Emperors of the rainbow race in this city. Luli did not kill all of them. He only killed 5 Saint Emperors, nearly 10,000 warriors, and tens of thousands of regular rainbow race warriors. Then he left, leaving behind a ruined city. There were more than 60 major cities in the immortal rainbow world. These were the cities where the majority of the rainbow race gathered. When any major city was attacked, many of the rainbow race would die. The leader of the rainbow race was enraged. Lu Li's attack on the immortal Rainbow Mountain was a slap in the face to the rainbow race. He had done it once, but he had to do it again. At this critical moment, there were nearly 1,000 young masters and young mistresses in the heavenly god city. The entire chaotic star region was watching. This was such a disgrace. Lu Li's skills of escape and disguise were so powerful that regular warriors could not find him. Not even when he was standing right next to them. Lu Li could even disguise himself as a member of the rainbow race. What else could they do? The three of them could see through Lu Li's disguise. But the immortal rainbow world was vast and Lu Li was fast. They could not find him. The leader of the rainbow race had no other choice but to offer a high reward. Anyone that could find Lu Li would be rewarded with 1 trillion celestial stones. Anyone that could kill Lu Li would be rewarded with 10 trillion celestial stones. At the same time, the Rainbow Race contacted the Full Moon Pavilion and other assassin organizations. They even contacted the Dark House. But the Dark House did not accept the offer. If the Dark House had accepted the offer, then it would be easy to find Lu Li. In addition to the Dark House, the other assassin organizations did not accept the offer either. The reason they gave was that it was difficult to kill Lu Li. If they could not, they would be the victim of Lu Li's revenge. In other words, they were afraid of Lu Li, afraid of being bitten by this mad dog. The Full Moon Pavilion did accept the offer. But it was still uncertain if they could find Lu Li. After all, the Rainbow Race had sent out so many scouts, but they could not find Lu Li. What was the point of the Full Moon Pavilion sending out tens of thousands of scouts? Once again, Lu Li disappeared. There was no message. It was as if he had left the nearby universes. Tens of millions of warriors and all the universes controlled by the Rainbow Race were searching. Still, they could not find him. There was not even a trace or a clue. Lu Li was nowhere to be found. But there were many scouts from other forces, such as those from the God of Death. These scouts had been found, screened, and released. Now, the entire immortal rainbow world was filled with scouts from various major factions. Could it be that the Rainbow Race had captured and killed all of them? Another 10 days later, Lu Li set off again. This time, there were 3 Lu Lis. One Lu Li showed up in a small universe controlled by the Rainbow Race. Scouts found traces of him. Then, armies began to hunt him down. That Lu Li was trapped in a mountain. While the chief patriarch of the Rainbow Race was excited, another Lu Li was found in another universe. 6 hours later, the third Lu Li appeared in a dangerous place at the north of the immortal rainbow world. This Lu Li snuck into the dangerous place and disappeared. Whether he was the real Lu Li or not, now that there were clues, they must go after him. The 3 warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm went to different places. The tribe leader of the Rainbow Race went to the dangerous place at the north of the immortal rainbow world in person. He believed that this Lu Li might be the real Lu Li. Anyone below the Saint Emperor realm would definitely die in that place. They teleported over. The tribe leader of the Rainbow Race led more than a dozen Saint Emperors into that place. However, they found nothing. There were traces, but the Lu Li in there must have escaped. When the tribe leader of the Rainbow Race came out in rage, he received a piece of news, one that almost made him spit out blood. Once again, the immortal Rainbow Mountain was under attack. 8 Saint Emperors and tens of thousands of the Rainbow Race died. The entire immortal Rainbow Mountain was smashed and completely destroyed. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3258, 3 Lu Li, page 1/1, bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 3253. A good horse would not turn back. Theoretically speaking, Lu Li had already attacked the immortal Rainbow Mountain once, and he would not do it again. What was more, the immortal Rainbow Mountain could be activated at any time. It would be difficult for Lu Li to crack it. However, he didn't expect that Lu Li would go back to his old ways. Furthermore, he easily broke through the immortal Rainbow Mountain's divine runes and destroyed this treasure mountain. This time it was different. Last time, Luli only destroyed some caves, farms, and mountains. This time, the entire Immortal Rainbow Mountain was destroyed. If it were just some buildings and some farms, it would not be a big deal. However, the entire Immortal Rainbow Mountain was split open by Luli and collapsed. This treasured land was completely ruined. It would be too difficult to restore it. The sacred land of the Rainbow Race was ruined. Previously, Luli had humiliated the Rainbow Race. This time, it was like stabbing them in the heart. Luli wouldn't kill the Rainbow Race, but he would make them suffer. The Heavenly God City was in an uproar. They were stunned by Luli's actions. They had thought Luli was bluffing. Little did they know that Luli was serious. He even had the guts to destroy the Immortal Rainbow Mountain. He had gone too far. The Rainbow Race would not stop until he was dead. The Hu race could not sit still anymore. At this rate, the Rainbow Race would be destroyed by Luli. Hu Yen sent the news back to the Hu race. The Hu race sent out 2 powerful warriors who were very close to the consummate realm and dozens of Saint Kings. This time, Luli didn't say anything. He didn't shout that he would destroy the Hu race as well. Luli vanished again after he made his move. There was no trace of him again. Half a month later, the powerful warriors of the Hu race came. They went directly to the family leader of the Rainbow Race at the Fairy Dragon City. The family leader of the Rainbow Race was in charge while the other 2 powerful warriors were still searching for Luli. They couldn't find Luli, but they couldn't just sit around. What if they ran into a dead rat by sheer luck? In a luxurious castle at the Fairy Dragon City, the 2 powerful warriors of the Hu race sat down with the family leader of the Rainbow Race in the lower seat. He was not weaker than the 2, but they were the leaders of the Rainbow Race and the patriarchs of the Hu race. The family leader of the Hu race didn't dare to slight them. The Hu tribe sent a 4th and a 6th Grand Elder. The 6th Elder's face was cold and he didn't say a word. The 4th Elder looked at the Hong race leader and asked, "Hong Yuan, have you found him yet?" The leader of the Rainbow Race shook his head with a bitter expression. The 4 elders frowned and asked, "You sent out so many people and even invited the Full Moon Pavilion, but you still can't find them? Not even a clue." The leader of the Rainbow Race shook his head and said, "This kid is the trump card of the Grim Reaper. He has an extremely powerful disguise technique. Unless one is at our level, they won't be able to see through him. Furthermore, this child is proficient in movement techniques and can conceal himself. He can disguise himself as any race, even members of the Rainbow Race. The rainbow boundary is so big, other than people of our realm, the rest of the martial artists would be searching for nothing. Fourth Lord, how do you think we should search? So perverted?" The 4 founding patriarchs frowned even harder. If what the family leader of the Rainbow Race said was true, then there was no way Luli could find him. In other words, neither the Rainbow Race nor the Hu race could do anything to Luli. They could not kill Luli, but Luli could come after them endlessly. He could kill as many as he wanted today and tomorrow. In a few years, there wouldn't be many people of the Rainbow Race and the Hu race left. The 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race thought for a while and said, "Hong Yuan, go and find a powerful warrior. I think it will be easy for us to track Luli down." The family leader of the Rainbow Race's eyes glowed and asked, "Who is it? I will go right now." "Immortal Hermit of the South Sea," the 4 founding patriarchs said. The family leader of the Rainbow Race was taken aback for a moment before he came back to his senses and asked, "The Asmodean of the South Sea?" After the confirmation, the family leader of the Rainbow Race asked with doubt, "I heard that this Asmodean is eccentric and eccentric. I don't see anything special about him. How can we find Luli by inviting him?" "Because he is from an ancient race, a very powerful one," the 4 founding patriarchs explained. "I don't know if you have heard of the Ray race." "The Ray race?" The family leader of the Rainbow Race was taken aback again. He couldn't remember. He took out a booklet and browsed through it. After a while, he found the information about the Ray race. After a while, he asked, "This race still exists?" Didn't they go extinct a million years ago? No. The 4 founding patriarchs shook their heads and said, "We only learned about it not long ago. There are very few of the Ray race left behind, and they have been cultivating in seclusion. But Immortal Hermit of the South Sea has no descendants. If they don't have other descendants, then after his death, this branch of the Ray race will be wiped out." The Ray race, an ancient race, was one of the most powerful tracking races in the ancient times. The Ray race was strong in the ancient times. Their stealth tracking skills were unparalleled in the world, much better than the Heavenly Hound race. If they could ask Immortal Hermit of the South Pole to help, then it would be easy to track down Luli. As long as they could find Luli, they could crush him. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole is eccentric and eccentric. I don't think it will be easy to hire him. The family leader of the Rainbow race said with concern, "I heard that some Asmodean entered his territory and was hunted down for years. He has taken over the South Pole region. He is not in need of resources or treasures. How can we hire him?" "Take this." The 4 founding patriarchs' rings glowed. They handed over a ring and said, "This is the material that Immortal Hermit of the South Pole has been looking for a long time. Give it to him and talk to him. I think we can get him to help." "What?" The family leader of the Rainbow race took the ring and took a look. He was moved. He bowed and said, "Thank you, founding patriarchs. I will reward you handsomely." "There is no need for us to talk about this." The 4 founding patriarchs smiled and waved their hands. "Don't worry. We will guard the immortal rainbow universe for you. Come back as soon as possible. Even if something goes wrong here, it will be fine." The family leader of the Rainbow race found some founding patriarchs and told them what to do. Then, he teleported away. He teleported to another universe and then took a battleship from that universe. It would take him at least 3 months to make a round trip. The family leader of the Rainbow race left. The 2 founding patriarchs of the Who race sent out their warriors, and they snuck into the Rainbow universe as well, waiting for Luli to show up or take action. They believed that Luli would take action. Since Luli had said that he would suppress the Rainbow race in half a year, he would not stop. He had made several successful moves. He would not be able to hold himself back. They did not have high hopes. They just wanted to see if they could run into Luli by sheer luck. As they expected, Luli took action again 8 days later. Again, there were 3 Luli and all of them were in the immortal Rainbow universe. The 2 founding patriarchs of the Who race went over at once, only to realize that they were imposters. All 3 Luli were killed. The real Luli showed up in a major city to the west. The shield of the city was activated, but it was destroyed by Luli in an instant. Then, Luli began his slaughter. He killed the 3 founding patriarchs in the city and tens of thousands of warriors before he swaggered away. Along the way, Luli had also killed the 2 Saint Kings and several hundred scouts that had hurried over. He had even arranged their corpses neatly together. He was as arrogant as he could be. Third Master. Chapter 3254. The Heavenly God City had been repaired. Many manors and taverns had been repaired. The young masters and young ladies had moved in. Taverns and taverns had been repaired the fastest. The earlier they could be repaired, the earlier they could earn celestial stones. The taverns and taverns were full every day. Some young masters took out a huge sum of celestial stones to be the banker. Many warriors began to place their bet. Some young masters and young ladies had nothing better to do, so they began to gamble as well. Of course, they were betting on Luli. They were betting on many things, such as when Luli would show up, how many Saint Kings he would kill, where he would show up, when would Luli be captured by the Rainbow race. Everything that was suspenseful could be used to place bet. This turned the Heaven God City into a huge casino. A group of martial artists had already left, but recently, many more martial artists had arrived. They were all here to gamble. Recently, there were more rumors going around. For example, Luli was actually a powerful warrior of the god of death in disguise. The god of death had accepted a mission to wipe out the entire rainbow race. He was even going to destroy the Hu race. A super force wanted to replace the Hu race. There was another rumor that this was a conspiracy between the rainbow race and Luli, the Hu race. They wanted to kill all the young masters here and complete a plan to wipe out the Hu race. The rainbow race would hire a powerful warrior to disguise as Luli and kill all the young masters and young ladies. There was another rumor that was the most ridiculous. It was said that after Luli massacred a city, he said that the young masters and young ladies were all good-for-nothings. He said that the group of young masters and young mistresses were all trash. They were all children. How old were they? Yet, they were still playing a child's game. If they wanted to prove that they were more powerful than Luli, then they could compete with him to kill more Saint Kings of the Rainbow Race. The young masters and young ladies just laughed it off and didn't take it to heart. Take the first rumor, for example. If the Grim Reaper had accepted the mission to wipe out the Rainbow Race would have been wiped out by now. Countless Grim Reapers would have swarmed into the deity Rainbow Universe. How could Luli fight alone? The second rumor was ridiculous as well. Luli had destroyed the immortal Rainbow Mountain. How could the Rainbow Race work with Luli? What was more, even if they did, they wouldn't have the courage to kill so many young masters and young ladies. As for the third rumor, no one cared about it. Even if Luli really said it, those young masters and young ladies wouldn't do anything rash, let alone a rumor. Without great enmity, without great benefits, how could they act recklessly? If it was just the Rainbow Race, then it wouldn't matter. Most importantly, the Rainbow Race had the support of the Hu race. If they wanted to destroy the Rainbow Race, they would have to prepare for war with the Hu race. Without huge benefits, who would go to war with a superclan? Was he so bored that his balls hurt? Or was it because their race had too many experts and they wanted to sacrifice some? These rumors were actually sent out by the Dark House under Luli's arrangement. Clearly, the effect was weak and the young masters and young ladies could not be triggered. Luli wanted to repeat what he did to the Red Dragon race. He wanted to use the other races to wipe out the Rainbow Race. However, the Rainbow Race was different from the Red Dragon race. There were number 33 major races in the Chaotic Star area. Destroying the Rainbow Race would only result in a division of the Rainbow Race's territory. Many great races were still very far away from this place. They wouldn't even want the territory of the Rainbow Race, even if they were given it to them. What was more, the Rainbow Race had the support of the Hu race. Therefore, Luli's plan would not work. Luli was troubled as well. The Dark House sent back information that Luli was at a loss. He had to kill his way out until the Rainbow Race admitted defeat. Either the Rainbow Race would surrender or he would die. He had nowhere else to go. He could not leave, or the powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race would swarm into the Heaven Continent universe at once unless his people at the Heaven Continent universe were relocated. The question was where to? The God of Death was a loose organization. There were many scouts from other races in the Tianjue city. No matter which universe the God of Death assigned to Luli, he would be found and targeted. Go back to a Middle King realm? What if the Rainbow Race or the Full Moon Pavilion sent scouts to track him down? By then, even the Middle King realms would be doomed. Therefore, he had no other choice but to fight to the end. If he died, then he wouldn't be able to do much. At least, Son of Feather would take care of his family. Luli would go all the way. He was losing his mind. He was like a lone wolf in the lonely night. There were pursuers on both sides and behind him. He had to keep moving forward even if there was a bottomless abyss in front of him. In the 2 months that followed, Luli took action 5 times. Every time, he was assisted by warriors of the Dark House. The Dark House lost more than a dozen warriors as well. But they were not strong and they were just faking it. The Dark House wouldn't feel bad losing thousands of warriors like them. Every time, Luli would gain something. He would either break into a major city, attack a place with resources, or kill some Saint Kings and armies. 5 times, Luli had killed 17 Saint Kings in total, including those he had killed before. He had killed more than 30 Saint Kings of the Rainbow race, including the 10 he killed outside the Tianhui universe. He had killed more than 40 Saint Kings. More than 40 Saint Kings. Average races didn't have so many Saint Kings. The Rainbow race was a big family, but they only had more than 300 Saint Kings. Now 1/8 of them had been killed. This was not counting the number of emperors and armies that Luli had killed. That was even worse. The Rainbow race clan leader was not here. Chief Patriarch and Second Patriarch were so angry that their faces were green and their eyes were red. They were like 2 wild beasts that were about to go berserk. They were running around, searching all over the world. They would hide in some cities and wait for Luli. But not once did they run into Luli, nor could they find him. 2 warriors of the Hu race, who were very close to the Absolute Realm, were also helping to track Luli, but to no avail. As a matter of fact, the 2 warriors of the Hu race and the patriarchs of the Rainbow race were wondering if some major force was helping Luli. Like the Grim Reaper? Could Luli have received information? Could he avoid warriors who were very close to the Absolute Realm? How else could he be so lucky? Not even once did they collide. The Grim Reaper had an agreement with the Rainbow race to stay out of the conflict between Luli and the Rainbow race. But he had been secretly sending information to Luli. There was no evidence. As long as there was no evidence, the Rainbow race could not do anything to the Grim Reaper even if they knew. Even if they had evidence, the Grim Reaper would not admit it. Would the Rainbow race dare to go to war with the Grim Reaper? The immortal Rainbow universe was filled with foreign race scouts. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them. Some of them must be from the Grim Reaper. They could not tell them apart, and it would be difficult to drive them away. After all, the immortal Rainbow universe was a large place with many cities. The Rainbow race had to wait for their clan leader to come back with Immortal Hermit of the South Pole. Buzzing, after another month or so, a warship quickly flew down from the sky above Immortal Dragon City and entered a huge manor. The Grand Elder and a group of Doyens, who had been waiting here for a long time, immediately went up to receive them. Immortal Hermit, this way. The Rainbow race clan leader walked out of the cabin with a short and fat old man behind him. The old man looked like a human. He was wearing a black robe and had a long beard. He did not have any powerful chi and energy. He did not look like a powerful warrior. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole of the ancient Ray race was here. Third Master. Chapter 3255. In the largest castle of the Fairy Dragon City, there was a banquet. There were only 6 warriors, but all of them were close to the completion of the Fairy Dragon realm. There was no singing or dancing, nor any delicacies. There were only 3 pots of fruits, and some jugs of nectar on the table. But those who knew the inside story would exclaim at the generosity of the Rainbow Race Master. The 3 pots of fruits and the jugs of nectar were worth at least 5 billion celestial stones. Those were top-level fruits and nectar. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole looked like a human, but upon closer inspection, there were differences. First of all, there were 3 colors in his eyes. It was not obvious but could be seen at a closer look. Secondly, his arms were long and thin. His fingers were longer than that of a human, like 10 needles. He was cold and spoke little. He would sit quietly and take a sip of nectar every now and then. Most of the time, it was the Hu race warriors and the Rainbow Race Master who were chatting. They didn't talk about Luli. They were just chit-chatting. 4 hours later, the 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race said, "I think it is about time. Immortal Hermit has been on the road for a long time. Let him rest for a few days and then we will get down to business." Of course. Rainbow Race Master nodded with a smile. A few more days is not a big deal. I don't think Luli will do anything anytime soon. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Right at that moment, they heard some footsteps outside. A founding patriarch of the Rainbow Race came in and whispered to the Rainbow Race Master, "Family Master, I have just received news that the Fairy Universe City is under attack. The city has been breached. Luli is taking action again." "What?" Rainbow Race Master pulled a long face. He turned to a mortal hermit of the South Pole who stroked his beard and said, "Since that punk is so restless, then let's get down to business and rest for a couple of days." Rainbow Race Master stood up, cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Immortal Hermit." The fourth and sixth elders of the Hu race stood up and said with murderous intent, "Let's go. With the Immortal Elder here, that bastard won't be able to escape this time. Let's go meet this brat and see how he can escape this time." "Second brother, you stay at the Fairy Dragon City." The Rainbow Tribe leader asked the second Grand Elder to stay behind. Then, he quickly left with the Great Grand Elder and the two Grand Elders of the Hu tribe, the South Pole Immortal One, and entered a teleportation altar in a nearby castle. They could teleport to a city near the Immortal Universe City that Luli had attacked and then fly over to track him. They could arrive at the Immortal Universe City in 4 to 6 hours at most. At this moment, the Immortal Universe City had been breached, and the two Doyens within the city had been killed. Luli didn't even use the purple divine liquid. He hid himself and let the Tribulation Thunder Beast attack first, while he secretly used the toxic liquid to kill the two Saint Kings. Then Luli flashed out and began to slaughter the soldiers in the city. Without the Holy Emperor, the average Rainbow Race soldiers were no different from average warriors to Luli. He could kill them easily. Go! More than half of the warriors in the city were killed and more than half of the city was destroyed. Luli put away the Tribulation Thunder Beast and left. He released the Divine Concealment spell and fled towards the west. There was a large mountain range in the west. He planned to cross the mountain range and attack a place with resources on the other side. After destroying this resource-rich land, he could go into hiding for a period of time. Many warriors and scouts were swarming toward the Immortal Universe City. There were also reinforcements from the Holy Emperor dynasty nearby. Luli didn't kill them. He went into the mountain range and crossed the mountain range as fast as he could. He found a valley on the other side of the mountain range. This was a place with resources, but the divine patterns had been activated here. They must have received the news that the Immortal Universe City was under attack. Luli walked around the land of resources. He let Blood Fairy out and told her to solve the runes. "Master." After a moment, Blood Fairy said, "The divine patterns here are complicated. It will take you over 2 hours to solve them." "That long?" Luli was hesitating. He had just attacked the Immortal Universe City. There must be warriors close to the absolute completion realm coming. If this expert were to come here, he might be discovered. Luli thought about the time. None of the Rainbow Race warriors close to the absolute completion realm were near the Immortal Universe City. They could teleport to a nearby city, come to the Immortal Universe City, and then search nearby. It would take them at least 6 to 8 hours to find this place. That should be enough time. "Solve it." Luli gave the order. As soon as he gave the order, he felt his hair standing on end. He was like a startled beast. His gaze suddenly turned to the left, and he felt that there was a strange movement in the space there, as if a mysterious expert was hiding there. Buzzing, his interspatial artifact glowed at once. He was about to let out the Tribulation Thunder Beast. However, from that dark corner, a shadow came out and a voice came, "Luli, it is me." "Emperor Yen?" Luli was surprised. Emperor Yen was here? How could it find Luli so easily? Or was it that Emperor Yen happened to be near the Immortal Universe City? It must have followed Luli. "Don't ask too many questions. Come with me." Emperor Yen suddenly disappeared. Luli could sense where Emperor Yen was by using the trace of Tao. Luli did not overthink. If Emperor Yen wanted to harm him, he would have been surrounded by warriors of the Rainbow Race who were close to the absolute completion realm. Luli put away Blood Fairy at once and followed Emperor Yen. After Emperor Yen left this mountain range, it flew up into the sky and brought Luli out of the immortal rainbow world. Near the immortal rainbow universe, Emperor Yen found a deserted world. He showed himself, took out an artifact, and covered up Luli and himself. Emperor Yen said solemnly, "Don't ask too many questions. I will tell you. Listen. Time is of the essence." Luli was confused, but he nodded. Emperor Yen said, "Don't be surprised how I found you. You have the badge of death on you. We have a piece of artifact that can sense any badge of death. Of course, not everyone has this artifact and not everyone can use it." Luli understood. He did not ask more questions. He waited for Emperor Yen to answer his questions. Emperor Yen did not pause. "I have just learned that the Rainbow Race has asked Immortal Hermit of the South Pole. You are in grave danger. You must escape immediately or you will die for sure." Luli could not help but ask, "Who is Immortal Hermit of the South Pole? Is he powerful? He can track me?" "Of course he can," Emperor Yen said with certainty. "Immortal Hermit of the South Pole is of the Ray race, one of the best tracking races in ancient times. Don't take chances. Our information is accurate. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole is a warrior close to the consummate realm. You cannot run away normally. Because of the agreement with the Hu race, we cannot protect you. You will have to run away on your own from now on. Find a place to hide for decades. When Immortal Hermit of the South Pole leaves, we will let you know." "Hide?" Luli asked with a frown. "If Immortal Hermit of the South Pole can find me, where else can I go? Unless I leave the chaotic universe and go to another region." "You don't have time." Emperor Yen shook its head. "It will take you at least 2 months to leave the chaotic universe. You will not be able to get away in such a long time. They will catch up with you. So, after our analysis, we have chosen 2 places for you to go. You can choose. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3261 You Don't Have Time, page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 3256 Emperor Yen tossed over a map with 2 red dots marked on it. Then, Emperor Yen explained the situation of these 2 places to Lin Feng. Neither of the 2 places was close nor far. At Luli's speed, it would only take him 10 days or half a month to get there. If Luli had the Holy Mountain, it would take him 3 to 5 days at most. Both of these places were dangerous places, extremely dangerous, and could even be said to be dangerous places. How could he stop the powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race from hunting him down? Immortal Hermit of the South Pole could find Luli easily and the powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race would hunt him down. Luli, on the other hand, was not as fast as them. Therefore, Luli had only one choice, which was to find a place of absolute danger, a place where even warriors close to the consummate realm could lose their lives. Not even average saint kings could survive in those 2 places. Warriors close to the consummate realm could die in there as well. In history, powerful warriors of this level had gone in there and died. One place was called the Dark World. It was pitch dark and terrifying. Nobody knew what was in there. However, none of the saint emperors or saint kings that went in ever came out. Several warriors close to the consummate realm went in and one of them died. The others never dared to go back after they came out. It was a warning to warriors of the chaotic star region that they should not go in unless they were at the consummate realm. Another place was called the Region of Destruction. In this region, there was a place called the Eye of Destruction. Once, 2 warriors close to the consummate realm went in and were trapped in there for 100,000 years. In the end, one of them came out. That warrior went crazy after he came out. Many other saint kings went in but none ever came out. Both places were known as perilous places in the chaotic star region. Not even saint kings dared to go there, let alone average warriors. Luli memorized all the information after Emperor Yan's introduction. He asked after some thoughts, What is in the dark world? What is in the eye of destruction? Is there no detailed information? Has no powerful warrior of the Grim Reaper ever gone in? Even Saint Kings died in there. What was the difference between Luli going in and committing suicide? If he was going to die anyway, he might as well fight to the death. There is no information in the dark world, Yen Emperor said solemnly. Our Grim Reaper's top experts went in and didn't come out, so we didn't dare to continue exploring. A top-notch death god had come out of the eye of destruction. The outside world did not know about this. He said that it was filled with a lot of strange destructive energy. I think you might have a chance to come out if you enter this place. Of course, you might also survive in the dark world because the Grim Reaper that we entered sent a message. There are experts who survived in there, but they can't come out. Destructive energy. Luli was intrigued. His Dharma realm could absorb strange energy. If it could absorb destructive energy, then it was possible that he could survive. Luli closed his eyes and began to think quickly. He analyzed the situation and made an accurate decision. Firstly, it was impossible for the Yen Emperor to lie to him. If the Grim Reaper could easily find him, it would be too easy for the Grim Reaper to harm him. It would also be easy for the Grim Reaper to kill him. Moreover, his clansmen were all in Sky Tide City and Sky Continent boundary. As such, the South Pole Immortal One truly existed. Moreover, just as the Yen Emperor had said, he possessed a heaven-defying tracking technique. He had already fallen into a perilous situation and had no way of escaping. He could only enter these two perilous situations to find a way out. Then, he had to choose one of the two perilous situations. Luli thought for a while and said, I will go to the Eye of Destruction. Emperor Yen, please take care of my clansmen and my family. That is all I can say to you. Emperor Yen said, if you can survive, then your clansmen will be protected and taken care of by the Grim Reaper. Once your Jade Life Talisman breaks, your clansmen will be protected for a short period of time. However, if you don't take care of them for a long time, unless your clansmen have a genius or a martial expert, I cannot guarantee anything. Thank you, Emperor Yen. Luli bowed. Emperor Yan's words were sincere, which made it more believable. Death was the end of a man. Luli was dead. Naturally, the Grim Reaper would not continue to take care of the Lu family. After all, Luli did not make any great contribution to the Grim Reaper. If the Yen Emperor had said that the Lu family would be safe and the Grim Reaper would nurture the Lu family, then Luli would have doubted it. Buzzing, Emperor Yen took out an interspatial ring and handed it to Luli. There is a small battleship here. It can be as fast as a middle-stage Saint King and it can be sped up 3 times. After that, the core inside will explode. It needs to be repaired before it can be used again. There is another piece of treasure, a bead. When it is activated, it can release a kind of energy to form an armor to protect you. But the bead needs energy as well. Therefore, it cannot protect you for too long in the Eye of Destruction. I think it will last for 10 days at most. So, if you want to survive, you have to figure out a way on your own. Luli did not argue. He put away the interspatial ring and said solemnly, I owe you my life. I will leave now. Emperor Yen patted Luli's shoulder. The other leaders and I have high hopes for you. Do not disappoint us. Come out alive. Also, in the Eye of Destruction, there is a kind of bugs of destruction, black, the size of a thumb, with horns. If you can come out alive, catch some of them. I will remember. Luli nodded. Emperor Yen gave Luli one more look and then dashed into the distance like a shooting star. Soon it vanished. Blood Fairy, set up some runes and hide them. You can feel them when you touch them, Luli said. Blood Fairy started at once. Ever since Luli acquired the books about runes from the library of the God of Death, Blood Fairy's knowledge of runes had improved. In less than an hour, Blood Fairy had finished. She had set up more than a dozen obscure runes in the deserted universe. Blood Fairy could feel them when she touched them. Luli wandered around the deserted universe as well. He sat in a place for a while and left some traces behind. When everything was ready, Luli flew away at once. He did not take the battleship given by Emperor Yen because it would be too conspicuous. There were scouts everywhere and many of them were top-level ones. He would be noticed if he was too conspicuous. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. He used skill of transfiguration and became a warrior of the rainbow race. Then, he flew toward the world of destruction as fast as he could. After a while, he changed his appearance and energy and entered a small universe. He stayed there for a while and asked Blood Fairy to set up something before he left. After he left the small universe, he changed his appearance and energy again. Again, he did not take out the battleship. He continued flying, but after flying for more than 2 hours, Blood Fairy suddenly transmitted her voice to him. Master, the divine inscriptions you placed in the wasteland have been touched. What? A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. Still, he hoped that he could get lucky. What if it was just some average scouts? Luli kept on flying, changing his appearance and energy. As far as he was concerned, if the enemy wanted to track him down, they would have to track his energy. However, skill of transfiguration could change one's energy. Emperor Yen did not lie to me. The worst-case scenario had happened. Another 2 hours later, the runes Blood Fairy left in the small universe were touched. If it was only once, then it might be a coincidence. But if it happened twice, then it meant that the immortal hermit of the South Pole could track him down. P.S. 4 chapters tomorrow. Third Master. Chapter 3257. Outside the infinity void, a battleship whizzed away. There were only 5 powerful warriors on board. It was fast, similar to the one Yang Yu used. The battleship was flying in a straight line. It didn't make any stops along the way. The destination was clear. The powerful warriors on the battleship were checking with psychic power. Their psychic power could reach a radius of more than 300,000 miles. Every now and then, scouts would pass by. They would stand on the side with respect and only move when the battleship passed by. There were only 5 powerful warriors on the battleship, but they were all very close to the consummate realm. The 5 were the family leader of the Rainbow Race, 2 senior patriarchs of the Hu race and immortal hermit of the South Pole. They had been following Luli all the way to the Fairy Universe City, and then to the Land of Resources. Now they were out in the void. But immortal hermit of the South Pole was a bit strange. He took them to a deserted world and then to a small one. They wandered around and came out immediately. Nobody knew what they were doing. The clan leader of the Rainbow Race believed in the name of the Ray Race. The Ray Race was one of the best tracking races in the ancient times. If the Ray Race could not find Luli, then no warrior in the world could. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole sat on the deck with his legs crossed. His eyes were half closed. His tricolored eyes were glowing in 3 dim lights. If the family leader of the Rainbow Race and the others were to take a closer look, they would see many pictures flashing by an immortal hermit of the South Pole's eyes. Those pictures were of places Luli had been to and Luli's appearance in disguise. East. After a moment, immortal hermit of the South Pole said coldly. The chief patriarch of the Rainbow Race changed his direction and went on. The chief patriarch of the Rainbow Race was wondering if immortal hermit of the South Pole was giving out random orders. Was it because he could not track Luli? Of course, the chief patriarch of the South Pole kept these thoughts to himself. Now that immortal hermit of the South Pole was here, he would let immortal hermit of the South Pole do whatever he wanted, even if it would cost him several months. 4 hours later, the South Pole immortal hermit led the cultivators into another desolate world. He strolled around inside and flew out. He shouted, "Chase! He just left not long ago. Let's not ride the warship anymore. Let's chase as fast as we can. We should be able to catch up to him in an hour at most." The The eyes of the Rainbow Race clan leader and the others lit up. There was no way an expert like the South Pole Immortal Hermit would lie. In fact, he wouldn't even say something he wasn't confident in. Since he said that, then he must be very confident. Chase. The experts were all incredibly excited. They all raised their speed to the limit, transforming into 5 streams of light that shot toward the northeast. Among the 5 experts, Immortal Old Man Nanji's speed was the fastest, followed by the leader of the Rainbow Race, and the 6th Elder of the Hu race was the slowest. Even the 6th Grand Elder, who was the slowest, was slightly faster than the warship. They used their divine telekinesis to search for any suspicious martial artists nearby. An hour later, the 5 powerful warriors suddenly sensed a blurry figure up ahead with psychic power. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole shouted, "Right ahead. That is Luli." Almost at the same time, the martial artist in front of them trembled as all the hairs on his body stood on end. He looked behind him and sensed the violent spatial fluctuations behind him. His complexion paled. His psychic power didn't detect Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the others behind him. But he sensed the violent spatial fluctuations, and there were 5 of them. To have such a powerful spatial fluctuation, either there was a powerhouse attacking, or there were 5 things flying at an extremely fast speed. Luli also sensed that there were 5 powerful warriors behind him. He was familiar with them. They were close to a warrior at the consummate realm. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole, the Rainbow Race clan leader and the Hu race were here. At this moment, Luli had no more hesitation. His body gave off a blood-red glare as he released another powerful skill taught to him by Xiao Mo, the Swift. Skill of Transfiguration, Stealth and Swift. These were Xiao Mo's 3 most powerful skills. Luli had used the first 2 frequently, but he had never used the Swift. The Swift would consume a large amount of a warrior's essence blood. Every time he used it, he would have to rest for some time to recover. Back in the days, Xiao Mo forced himself to use it several times. He was so weak that he was killed in the void. As soon as he used the Swift, Luli felt his blood was burning. He also released his dragon wings. With a flap of his wings, he dashed on like a sharp sword. He was so fast that Luli couldn't even react in time. I think he is faster than all the warriors that are close to the consummate realm. Luli sensed and exclaimed to himself. The Swift was amazing. It could increase his speed by so much. Luli forced himself not to overthink and to concentrate on his journey. There were 5 powerful warriors behind him, and their speed was horrifying as well. If he dared to be careless, this day next year would be the anniversary of his death. The 5 powerful warriors had noticed Luli and were delighted. But the next second, they realized that Luli had disappeared into the distance. How come Luli was faster than them? Such a powerful skill! The 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race were taken aback, and the 6 founding patriarchs were surprised. It was rare to see such a horrifying skill. If they could capture Luli and get the skill out of him, then the Hu race would be rewarded with a powerful skill. The ace assassin of the Grim Reaper is really something. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole nodded and praised. He could have sped up, but he slowed down a bit. He was not in a hurry. Immortal Hermit. When the Rainbow Race tribe leader saw this, he quickly said, "Why did you slow down? Don't let Luli get away." "He cannot get away." Immortal Hermit of the South Pole shook his head with a sneer and said, "A warrior that I have locked onto wants to run? Any elixirs that can increase one's abilities or speed for a short time will consume one's origin. Once Luli uses this skill, he will have even less of a chance to run. He will be so weak that he can't even go invisible." Okay. Master of the Rainbow Race made up his mind. That warrior was in disguise and didn't look like Luli, but they were almost certain that it was Luli. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole's tracking skills were impressive. If he could track Luli, then Luli would not be able to escape. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole was right. Any elixirs that could improve one's abilities, speed, defense and soul would inflict great harm on the body. Luli would be weakened later. It would be easier for Master of the Rainbow Race to catch up with him and kill him. What should I do with Luli when I get him? Master of the Rainbow Race had begun to think about this. Not only had the Rainbow Race suffered a great loss, but their reputation had also been affected. Therefore, killing Luli would require skills. Fortunately, there were many young masters and young ladies at the Heavenly God City. They could drag Luli to the outside of the Heavenly God City and torture him for a month before killing him. At the very least, they could save some of their reputation. No, I will not kill him. Master of the Rainbow Race's eyes glowed with viciousness. He wanted to turn Luli into jerky and hang him outside of the Heavenly God City for a couple of years so that Luli could beg for death. Not only could Master of the Rainbow Race vent his anger, but he could also deter the powerful enemies that were targeting the Rainbow Race. It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Third Master. Chapter 32:58. Luli used the swift. He could not stand it for half an hour. He felt so weak in his soul that he almost passed out. He didn't dare to force himself. Instead, he took out the battleship Emperor Yen gave him. Whoosh! The battleship trembled and then flew away in a blur. It was fast, almost as fast as Sun Feather's battleship. But this battleship could be sped up 3 times. If it was already so fast now, it must be even more horrifying when it was sped up. Phew, phew! Luli controlled the battleship to fly in a straight line. He didn't care if he was exposed or if there were scouts nearby. His enemies could track him down now. There was no point in hiding now. There was only one way for him to go, which was to get to the region of destruction as fast as he could and enter the Eye of Destruction. He inwardly felt some regret. He shouldn't have tried to get lucky. If he had listened to Emperor Yan's words and fled as fast as he could, he would have had a high chance of reaching the Eye of Destruction before the enemy caught up. But now, he didn't have any confidence. His interspatial ring glowed as he took out some top-level herbs to consume to recover his energy. The swift art burned his blood essence, his body's origin. Even the Shao Devil couldn't withstand it, let alone him. Well, there is a battleship? This warrior is suspicious. This battleship is so fast. We cannot catch up with him. Send a message. There were scouts of the Rainbow Race nearby. Luli's rampage in a straight line was soon noticed by the scouts. When the scouts checked with psychic power, they became suspicious and reported back at once. 2 hours later, the news was sent to the clan leader of the Rainbow Race. The powerful warriors were surprised that Luli had such an advanced battleship. But they were more relieved. According to the scouts along the way, Luli was extremely weak. His face was pale and he was trembling. His breaths were almost inaudible. Send a message. Mobilize armies from nearby universes to stop him. But remember, do not kill Luli. This area was still within the sphere of influence of the Rainbow Race. Therefore, the clan leader of the Rainbow Race ordered the armies from nearby universes to stop Luli. They didn't expect to capture Luli. They just wanted to buy him some time. They didn't panic. They all took their battleships and went after Luli. Since Immortal Hermit of the South Pole could track down Luli, Luli would not be able to get away unless a powerful warrior from the God of Death came. But would the Grim Reaper make an enemy out of the Hu race just for Luli? One had to know that the 4th and 6th Grand Elders of the Hu tribe were here. At the command of the Master of the Rainbow Race, millions of warriors were mobilized from nearby universes. They formed layers of defense to stop Luli. 2 hours later, Luli noticed that there were at least tens of thousands of warriors coming from the front. Before Luli could get close, those warriors began to attack in a frenzy, trying to destroy Luli's battleship. Even though he had rested for 2 hours, Luli was still weak. This wasn't an injury, but an injury to one's origin. This kind of injury was the hardest to recover from. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least a year and a half to recover. Even with top-grade divine medicine, it would still take 1 or 2 months. Therefore, Luli could not join the fight. He let out the Tribulation Thunder Beast and let it grow to its maximum size. Then, Luli rushed forward as fast as he could. He didn't need to kill these troops. All he needed to do was charge through them. The Thunder Ting Beast was huge and could block all the attacks in front of it. Roar, roar! The Thunder Ting Beast raised its head and bellowed. The surging chi and energy made all the warriors tremble. Some warriors at the 6th Tribulation almost wet their pants. Whoosh! The Thunder Ting Beast was fast, but it was a bit slower than the battleship. The Thunder Ting Beast breathed out a white mist that turned hundreds of warriors in front of it into dust. The Thunder Ting Beast dashed on and Luli followed it closely. Whoosh! The Thunder Ting Beast and the battleship flashed by without stopping. Luli told the Thunder Ting Beast to shrink and let it stay on the deck. He believed that there would be many warriors ahead. He would let the Thunder Ting Beast lead the way. As he had expected, as Luli had expected, tens of thousands of warriors would show up every hour to stop them. That being said, the warriors could not stop them. The best they could do was slow down the battleship for one breath. A day later, the battleship had left the region controlled by the Rainbow Race. They were only 2 days away from the realm of destruction. The Rainbow Race Master was getting impatient. This was not going to work. Luli's battleship was as fast as theirs. They could not catch up. What if Luli was secretly taken away by a powerful warrior from the god of death? Undue delay may bring trouble. Seeing the worry in the Rainbow Race Master's eyes, Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said, "Let's not take the battleship anymore. Let's go at full speed. We should be faster than him." Okay. Several powerful warriors left the battleship and went after Luli at full speed. However, Luli's Swift had widened the distance between them to 300,000 miles. Therefore, it was impossible to catch up with Luli in a short period of time. Their speeds were not that different. After a day, the distance between them was shortened. When they were only 300,000 miles away, they sensed Luli with psychic power. Luli also sensed the 5 powerful warriors behind him. Buzzing. Without any hesitation, Luli forced the battleship to speed up. The speed was increased by 10 times and they vanished into the distance. How the powerful warriors looked at each other, speechless. The battleship could be sped up? The 4 patriarchs of the Hu race suddenly remembered and shouted, "This is the ghost shadow ship that only the god of death and the Mo family have." God of death. The Rainbow Race Master shouted, clenching his teeth. He had suspected that the god of death was helping Luli secretly. Now it was proven. The chief patriarch of the Rainbow Race snorted and said, "Later, we will go to the Tianyu city and demand an explanation from the god of death." What explanation? The 4 patriarchs of the Hu race squinted at him and said, "The ghost shadow ship was built by the Mo family, but the Mo family has sold many of them. They can shirk all responsibility. What kind of evidence is this?" "Don't be hasty." The 6 patriarchs of the Hu race said, "The ghost shadow ship can only be sped up 3 times and for the time for 1 incense stick to burn each time. After the 3 times, the ghost shadow ship must be sent to the Mo family for repair. Therefore, Luli cannot go far. It will just take him more time. The thing is, the god of death has given the ghost shadow ship to Luli." The Rainbow Race Master was still worried. Will the god of death show up secretly? Maybe he will send a powerful warrior to take Luli away? Take him away? Ha ha. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole, who had been silent, said, "I have located Luli's source of spiritual energy. I can track him to the ends of the world. Where can they take him? To the Tianyu city? Or to the secret base of the god of death?" Yes. The 6 patriarchs of the Hu race said with confidence, "With Immortal Hermit here, we can put our minds at ease. The god of death is not that stupid. Recently, he has offended another major race. If the Hu race is involved, not even the god of death can stand it. Then let's go. The Rainbow Race Master was relieved. He sped up and went after Luli. Master 3. Chapter 32:59. Half a day later, several powerful warriors were close to Luli again. For the second time, Luli sped up the battleship and widened the distance between them to more than 300,000 miles. The powerful warriors kept on chasing. Half a day later, they were close to Luli for the third time. Without any hesitation, Luli sped up the battleship for the third time and widened the distance to more than 300,000 miles. Boom! When the effect of the speed up wore off, the entire battleship glowed and then it stopped in midair. Luli sensed that the core was useless. The battleship was scrapped for the time being. Let's go! Luli let out the Tribulation Thunder Beast and hopped on. He grabbed its horns. The Tribulation Thunder Beast spread its wings and flew forward in a blur. They were only half a day away from the realm of destruction. After 2 days of recovery, Luli was not as weak as before. His abilities would be affected, but he was not going to fight anyone, so it didn't matter. If the powerful warriors were to catch up with him, he would still be doomed even if he could recover to his peak state. According to Luli's calculations, it would take at least half a day for the enemies to catch up. In half a day, Luli would arrive at the realm of destruction. By then, he could go into the Eye of Destruction and leave his life in the hands of the Rainbow Race. His Ghost Shadow battleship is useless now. The 4 patriarchs of the Hu race said with certainty. Fairy Hermit of the South Pole nodded and said, "Yes, he is using the Tribulation Thunder Beast. This Tribulation Thunder Beast is not an adult yet, so it is not that fast. It is slower than us." Okay. Master of the Rainbow Race was excited. Luli was weak now. He should not be able to use that kind of skill anymore. In half a day, they would be able to catch up with Luli. In half a day, it would be Luli's doomsday. Something is wrong. Fairy Hermit of the South Pole suddenly remembered something. He took out a map and glanced at it. His pupils contracted and he said, "This punk is probably going to the realm of destruction." Realm of destruction? The 4 powerful warriors changed their expressions. They took out the map and studied it. They did some calculations and realized that Luli seemed to be running in a straight line. Also, he was heading toward the realm of destruction. They knew all too well what was inside the realm of destruction. They had sent powerful warriors of their races in, but none came out. Why was Luli going to the region of destruction? His intentions were very clear. He wanted to enter the Eye of Destruction and use it to stop their pursuit. If Luli had really entered the Eye of Destruction, they wouldn't dare to chase after him. Of course, they didn't think that Luli could survive in the Eye of Destruction. That being said, the Rainbow Race would not be able to salvage their reputation if they failed to capture Luli or take his body. It would be best if Luli could capture him alive. If not, he could bring his body back. If there was nothing, then how could he prove that the Rainbow Race had killed Luli and gotten back at him? The Chaotic Star region would only suspect that Luli had run away and found a place to hide. No! The Rainbow Tribe leader's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness as he growled, "We must stop him. We cannot let him enter the Eye of Destruction." "I'll go to the front," the 4 founding elders of the Hu race said. "I will use a secret technique to increase my speed and go to the realm of destruction first. You guys continue to follow. If he goes to the realm of destruction, I promise to capture him." "Thank you, my lord." The Rainbow Tribe leader bowed to express his gratitude. The 4 founding elders of the Hu race had a purple glow on their feet. They sped up at least 3 times and soon vanished into the distance. The Rainbow Tribe leader was relieved that the 4 founding elders of the Hu race were going to stop Luli. That being said, they all sped up to catch up. Luli was getting closer and closer to the realm of destruction. Not only did he not feel at ease, he was filled with anxiety and uneasiness. This was a perilous place. Even saint kings would lose their lives in there, not to mention that Luli was not a saint king yet. He had the artifact given to him by the Yen Emperor, but who could guarantee that it would be able to survive? Also, the artifact would not last long. Half a day later, Luli saw a huge area ahead of him. It was the realm of destruction marked on the map. Luli was about to fly over in a straight line when he suddenly had a bad feeling. There seemed to be danger lurking in front of him. He didn't know where the danger was yet, but his instinct gave him goosebumps. That might be why his senses were dozens of times sharper when he used the mark of Great Tao. Buzzing, without any hesitation, Luli put away the tormented thunder beast and forced himself to use the swift. He dashed to the left of the realm of destruction in a blur. Whoosh! From a piece of rubble outside the realm of destruction, a man dashed out and shouted, "Luli, you cannot get away. We have powerful warriors over there as well." Luli turned a deaf ear to the shout. He was much faster than the Hu race warriors behind him. He flew around the realm of destruction and soon found a weak spot in the space. He dashed in and began to check with psychic power. To the west. Luli sensed that the space to the west was trembling, and so was the Xian Qi in heaven and earth. Without any hesitation, Luli flew over. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, he saw the eye of destruction. He was shocked. A work of God, a wonder of nature. These were the two words that Luli could think of. But neither of them could express his astonishment. This was the most dazzling scene he had ever seen. In front of him was a plain. In the center of the plain was a huge oval pit. The pit had a diameter of 300 miles. Looking down from the sky, it looked like a huge eye. What was more amazing was that in the center of the pit was a huge eye. In the center of the pit was a mass of airflow. The airflow was moving slowly and formed into a sphere that looked like a huge eye. But that was not the point. The eye gave off a strange feeling. It was like a living eye with a mysterious power that could see through people's hearts. Eye of God. That was the first impression Luli had when he looked down from the sky. It was as if the realm of destruction was the body of an immortal and the eye of destruction was the immortal's eye. Majestic, mysterious, awe-inspiring, dangerous and horrifying. That was what the eye of destruction told Luli. He had an idea, which was to leave this place as far as possible. Otherwise, he would be torn apart by the eye and crushed into pieces. Ha ha ha! From behind Luli came a burst of laughter. The 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race caught up with him and said, "Jump in. Why don't you? Didn't you come all the way here? Now that you are here, why don't you jump in? You are a coward." Phew, phew, Luli took a deep breath and then dashed toward the Eye of Destruction. Before he entered the Eye of Destruction, he took out the bead given by Emperor Yen. He activated the bead and a surge of energy surged out. Luli put on a blue armor. Whoosh! In a blink, Luli had dashed into the Eye of Destruction and disappeared from the sight of the 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race. A glint of coldness rose in the 4 patriarchs of the Hu race. They cursed to themselves, but they did not dare to go in. It was not worth it to lose their lives in there for Luli. End of this chapter. Chapter 3260. 2 hours later, the leader of the Rainbow Race and a few other experts arrived. When they saw the 4 founding elders of the Hu race standing outside the Eye of Destruction, everyone except the South Pole Immortal One turned grim. In the end, Luli ran into the Eye of Destruction. The 4 founding patriarchs of the Hu race came earlier, but they failed to stop him. Of course, the leader of the Rainbow Race did not dare to reprimand the 4 founding elders. He did not even dare to question them. He sensed my presence in advance. The 4 elders explained, Then he used that secret technique and escaped into the Eye of Destruction from the other side. Rainbow Race clan leader nodded. He turned to Immortal Hermit of the South Pole, cupped his fists and said, "Immortal Hermit, is Luli dead?" "No." The South Pole Immortal One said with certainty, "This kid is still alive. Although his life force is very weak, it should be because he used that secret technique again. Such a weak life aura, yet he's still alive inside. This means that he must have a treasure on him that withstood the attack of the destructive power." What's next? The chief patriarch of the Rainbow Race was struggling. He did not dare to go in. If Luli could survive and sneak out, then all their previous efforts would be in vain. The eyes of the leader of the Rainbow Race flickered, and he looked at the South Pole Immortal Hermit. He cupped his fists and said, "Immortal Hermit, can I trouble you to guard this place for a period of time?" They just had to make sure that Luli was dead. "Of course, if you guard this place for a year, we will pay you 100 billion celestial stones. What do you think? 100 billion a year and 1 trillion in 10 years. The Rainbow Race was willing to pay. If Luli were to stay in there for 1,000 years, then not even the Rainbow Race could afford such a high price. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said nothing. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he said, "I can only stay here for 10 years. If Luli is still alive after 10 years, then I will leave." The South Pole Immortal Hermit was no ordinary martial artist. He was a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm. If it wasn't for the fact that the 4 founding elders of the Hu clan had given him the divine materials he desperately needed, he wouldn't have come out to fight them. He wasn't alone. He had a force behind him. If he didn't return for a long time, what if something happened to his forces? Therefore, 10 years was the limit. The Rainbow Tribe leader nodded slightly and said, "All right, thank you, Immortal One. My tribe's Grand Elder will be here with you too. You can tell him if you need anything. I hope that if Luli comes out in the next 10 years, you can help me take him down." "You don't need to say anything more," the Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said impatiently. Then, he sat down on a small mountain to the side and ignored the expert. The leader of the Rainbow Race left some instructions to the Grand Elder. After observing the surroundings for a couple of hours, he left with the experts of the Hu race. There was no point in them staying here. It was enough for the South Pole Immortal One and the Grand Elder to stay. If Luli came out, then Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the Grand Patriarch could kill him easily. If Luli didn't come out, then there was nothing they could do. After all, their lives were more valuable. They couldn't go in and die with Luli. Of course, as far as the Rainbow Race Patriarch and the Hu Race Patriarch was concerned, Luli was doomed. This was the Eye of Destruction. Even Saint Emperors would die if they went in. Luli was an Emperor Realm warrior. So what if Luli had some strange abilities? In the face of absolute power, no tricks would work. The 3 powerful warriors left. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole had been sitting on the small mountain. The Grand Elder was observing the Eye of Destruction. As long as he didn't go in, he would be safe outside. After 2 days of observation, nothing happened. The Grand Elder didn't see anything wrong either. He had to go back to Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and cultivate. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole would know at once if anything went wrong. 3 days, 4 days, 6 days. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole seemed to be cultivating, but he had been keeping an eye on the Eye of Destruction. He opened his eyes and was surprised. Theoretically speaking, even if Luli had treasures, his treasures should have been cracked under the impact of such a strong force of destruction. It had been 6 days. How come Luli was still alive? Did he have the ability to fight against the force of destruction? Otherwise, how could an Emperor Realm warrior survive for so long? It was inexplicable. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole admired Luli's skill of transfiguration and teleportation. He believed that of the entire chaotic star region, apart from himself, no other warrior could track Luli down. Of course, warriors at the absolute completion were excluded. Absolute completion. These three words could represent many things. Absolute completion in a certain aspect was the true recognition of heaven and earth. Warriors at the absolute completion could have many unimaginable abilities. Warriors at the absolute completion were invincible. This was common knowledge in the 8 galaxies. Warriors at the absolute completion were omnipotent. No one had ever heard of a warrior at the absolute completion being killed. They would only die of old age. Warriors at the absolute completion were transcendent beings. They wouldn't mind such trifles. Even if Luli were to attack a tribe of a warrior at the absolute completion, they wouldn't do anything. Unless the tribe was at the point of life and death, they wouldn't bother to deal with warriors of different levels. Even though Luli had some strange skills, he was at the Emperor realm after all. This was a shortcoming. Unless he had some powerful treasures, he wouldn't be able to survive in there for so long. Well, let's wait for a bit longer. If you can live for another 10 years, then I will be convinced by you. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole shook his head and closed his eyes. If Luli came out, he would know at once. The world of destruction quieted down. The only thing left in the Eye of Destruction was the mass of air that looked like an eye. It was wriggling, emitting a mysterious and strange chi and energy. What Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the Chief Patriarch of the Rainbow Race didn't know was that 2 people were standing on a small hill on the other side of the Eye of Destruction. One of them was a sage-like old man with a fan in his hand. The other one was a short old man with white hair and a white beard. The 2 didn't seem to have powerful chi and energy. They were just standing on the hill, but Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the Chief Patriarch of the Rainbow Race didn't notice them at all. If Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the Chief Patriarch of the Rainbow Race knew there were 2 people here, they would have jumped up in fright and dropped to their knees in fear. The 2 stood on the hill, looking into the Eye of Destruction. The sage-like old man was calm and had a gentle smile on his face. The other one was anxious. Astro Emperor. The old man with white hair and beard asked after a while. Luli is only at the Emperor realm. Even though the god of death has given him a treasure, I don't think he can hold on for more than a few days. What are you waiting for? The sage-like old man shook his head and said with a smile, Why should I? The old man with white hair and beard rolled his eyes and said, Astro Emperor, if you don't do anything, why are you here in such a hurry? Are you here to see Luli die? Or are you here to send him on his way? No, no. The sage-like old man shook his head and said, I'm not here to see him die. I'm here to see how he can turn things around. This is the 5th tribulation of the 7 calamities. If he can get through this, his combat ability will soar again and he will have a qualitative change. Over the years, we've found 777 7-realm innate ferocious bodies. Although this kid hasn't survived the most calamities, he's the most extraordinary one. Therefore, I'm very curious. What kind of change will he undergo this time? P.S. Chapter 4. Third Master. Chapter 3261. Inside the Eye of Destruction was a miraculous world. It was not like a pit but an independent world. This place was very beautiful and could even be said to be very gorgeous and mysterious. It wasn't dark here because there were countless colorful airflows flowing inside. They were like meteors drifting by and also like groups of fireflies dancing inside. It was very beautiful and gorgeous. Few tens of thousands of rainbow-colored balls of air dragged long tails as they swam quickly inside, causing the space inside to flicker. It was strange. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth was thick. Luli had noticed that all the Xian Qi in heaven and earth in the world of destruction was swarming toward this place. Maybe it was because the world of destruction was constantly absorbing Xian Qi, which was why the Xian Qi was so thick. There were many skeletons in this space, tens of thousands. Many of the skeletons were glowing in a golden glow. Clearly, they belonged to powerful warriors. The horror of this place was evident. Many of the skeletons had some black bugs crawling on them. It was a spooky sight. In the middle of the skeletons there was a man floating. There was a faint layer of blue light around the figure. It looked like a suit of armor, but the light from the blue armor was very weak. It looked like it could disappear at any time. The man's breathing was weak, almost inaudible, as if he could die at any moment. His body was being pushed around by the streams of colorful air. He was like a piece of driftwood in the sea, moving up and down. Luli was not dead. He was not even in a coma. He had been conscious. He was just weak, so weak that he could not even move his fingers. He had used the fleeting skill twice, which consumed a large amount of origin energy. This was not only the origin energy of life, but also the fundamental origin of a human body. Not only his body, but his soul was weak as well. He had never been so weak in his entire life. He could tell that the energy of the artifact given to him by Emperor Yen was running out. In a day or two at most, it would lose its effect. The colorful air streams kept hitting at him. Every time, the energy of his armor would be drained. He knew he was in grave danger. But what else could he do? He could not even move his fingers. He could not even take out some elixirs to consume. He used psychic power to check the surroundings. He saw many floating skeletons. He felt those were his future. Maybe in a few days, he would become a skeleton and float here forever. I have to think of a way to save myself. Luli tried his best to mobilize the swirl in the realm of magic, trying to absorb the energy of destruction. However, because of the blue armor, the energy of destruction could not enter his body. Therefore, Luli could not absorb it. He was not sure if he could absorb the power of destruction, so he could only wait for the blue armor to disappear. However, what if the power of destruction instantly destroyed his body the moment the blue armor disappeared? What if he couldn't absorb it? Anything was possible. Luli could only wait for the judgment of the heavens. Soon, a day and a half passed. Finally, the blue armor was gone. There were currents of destruction coming at him all the time. Luli's nerves were strained to the extreme. He used all his strength to activate the whirlpool in the spell world. The whirlpool spun madly. When the destructive power hit his body, a strong suction force came from the spell world. The destructive power was instantly sucked into the spell world. Even though Luli was sucked in instantly, the destructive energy was not like venom. It was not a big problem for the venom to stay in Luli's body for a while. He would be fine as long as the venom was absorbed into the Dharma realm. Luli's body was strong. Average venom could not inflict much harm on him. But this destructive energy was different. This was the origin of destruction, which was horrifying. Otherwise, so many powerful warriors wouldn't have died. Only one warrior, who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, escaped and went mad not long after he went out. Luli screamed from the depths of his soul. He wanted to shout it out, but he didn't have the strength to do so. The destructive energy entered the spell world from the outside and passed through his body. His abdomen and back were shredded. 2 bloody holes appeared. Not only his flesh and blood were destroyed, but his bones and marrow were destroyed as well. There was only a big hole left in his abdomen, which looked horrifying. As the destructive energy surged in, the hole in his abdomen grew larger. If he could not think of a way, Luli's chest would disappear soon, followed by his legs, neck, and then his head. In the end, there would be nothing left of his body but a pellet. Luli was panicking. The thing was, he could not move. What could he do? He could only watch as the bloody hole grew bigger and bigger. While he was enduring the pain, he had to enjoy the feeling of waiting for death. It was hard to bear. The feeling of helplessness and desperation could break a person down. Luli forced himself to calm down. Haste would not solve anything. It would only hasten his death. Hundreds of ideas flashed across his mind. He was trying to come up with a solution. I got it. His heart skipped a beat. He thought of a way, which was to suck his soul into the soul-devouring bead. First, he could protect his soul and then rebuild his body. No, soon Luli vetoed the idea. To build a physical body, he would need powerful items or at least top-level materials. Later on, his physical body, interspatial rings and interspatial artifacts would all be destroyed. Where could he find the top-level materials to rebuild his body? Also, the soul-devouring race might not be able to stand the destructive energy. By then, their souls would be destroyed as well. Then, there is only one way. Luli thought about it and realized that there was only one way, which was to rebuild his body, to be destroyed and reborn. Only in this way could he have a chance of survival. But what could he use to rebuild his body? He could not even move his fingers. There were top-level materials in his interspatial rings, but he could not use them. To rebuild his body, he would need at least a large amount of energy. If there were thunderbolts here, it would be fine. But here, there was only the energy of destruction. There was some energy in his realm of magic. Unfortunately, those were purple divine liquid and toxins, which could not rebuild his body. After much thought, Luli realized that he had reached a dead end again. The energy of destruction was surging in. The hole in Luli's abdomen was getting bigger. He felt his life force was slipping away. He was already weak, and now, he was getting weaker. He could smell the scent of death. Astro Emperor. Outside the eye of destruction, Astro Emperor sensed Luli's situation. He was even more worried. He could not help but say, "If you don't do something, Luli will die. There is nothing he can do under such circumstances." Then this is his fate. Astro Emperor shook his head calmly. The cursed ones of the 7 realms will either soar up or perish forever. Over half of the cursed ones of the 7 realms that we have found have died. Have you seen any of them that I have saved? This is their fate. Maybe, this eye of destruction will be Luli's burial ground. Master 3. Chapter 3262. 2 hours, 4 hours. Not only was Luli's abdomen gone, his chest was gone as well. His body was divided into 3 parts, the upper body, the lower body, and the divine elixir. Luli had lost all sense of pain. His mind was filled with despair because there was nothing he could do to stop the destructive energy from hurting his body. His hands were still there, as was his space ring. There were many top-grade divine medicines in his space ring, but what use was that? He was so weak that he couldn't even move. The only thing he could move now was his soul. He watched helplessly as his lower abdomen was crushed, and then his legs were crushed. His heart was dead silent. The danger this time was too great. It was not something that could be overcome by putting his life on the line. This was like a mortal encountering a huge avalanche. No matter how hard he struggled, he was unable to resist the might of heaven and earth, and could only wait for death. At this moment, Luli felt like he was waiting for death. The body was the root, the soul was the origin, and the power was the source. Without a physical body or a soul, this cultivator would definitely die in the end. There was no surprise or suspense. Luli's physical body was about to be destroyed and his soul would be gone as well. Not even an almighty immortal could save him. What else can we do? Is there any other way? Luli asked himself again and again. He could not move his body, so he could not protect it. Then, he had to think of a way to protect his soul. As long as his soul was not destroyed, there was still a chance of survival. Perhaps there was a chance to reconstruct his physical body. Even if he could not reconstruct his physical body, at least there was a remnant of his soul left. Although he was a wandering ghost, at least he still had his consciousness and was not completely dead. How could the soul be preserved? Luli could suck his soul into the soul-devouring bead, but what if the soul-devouring race could not withstand the destructive force? Therefore, Luli was in a dilemma. If the Soul Eater race could not stop them, then his soul would perish. Why don't we release the Thunder Tamer beast first? Whether it lives or dies depends on its luck, right? Luli ordered the Tribulation Thunder Beast. He told Blood Fairy to undo the patterns in the distant bead. The Tribulation Thunder Beast flew out and shrank to its smallest size. Luli told the Tribulation Thunder Beast to run away by itself and try its best to avoid the destructive force. Roar! After the Thunder Devastator Beast came out, it roared at the sky and flew into the distance, quickly avoiding the destructive power. Soon, it disappeared into the distance. Blood Fairy, you should also enter the spell realm. Before my soul is destroyed, I will remove the spiritual connection between us. Luli sent a message. Blood Fairy had entered the realm of magic as well. She was anxious, but she could not disobey Luli's order. Another half a day had passed. Luli didn't have to worry anymore. This was because he was only left with his head and a godly elixir. If he did not absorb his soul into the soul-devouring orb, his soul would be destroyed very soon. He could only harden his heart and activate the soul-devouring orb. Then, his 3 souls and 6 spirits all entered the soul-devouring orb. Buzz! He activated the soul-devouring orb and it flew out of his mind. This orb was a treasure of the soul and could be activated with soul power. Luli absorbed all his soul energy into the soul-devouring bead as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to activate the soul-devouring bead. This soul-devouring pearl was a top-grade holy weapon. Its defensive power should not be too bad, right? If he could withstand the power of destruction, he would at least be able to preserve his soul and have a chance of survival. He urged the soul-devouring orb to fly out of his head and near the divine elixir. He wanted to test if the power of destruction could destroy the soul-devouring orb. Near the divine elixir, the power of destruction would be weaker. In this way, the soul-devouring bead would be safer. There would be more power of destruction coming at him at all times. Most of the power would be absorbed by the Dharma realm in the divine elixir. Only a small amount of the power of destruction would be left outside. Otherwise, Luli's body would have been destroyed. No! When the soul-devouring bead was approaching the divine elixir, Luli noticed that the soul-devouring bead was glaring and then dimming down. If he were to be attacked for a while longer, the soul-devouring bead would explode. Both his body and soul would be destroyed. Luli's soul was filled with bitterness. He didn't expect that he would end up like this. Both his body and soul would be destroyed. Apart from the divine elixir, there would be nothing left of him. He wondered if the Dharma realm and the divine elixir would continue to absorb after he died. Would the Dharma realm change after absorbing so much power of destruction? Would it become a super big world? Would it turn into a land of treasures like the one around the dragon rebel race? What a pity for this Dharma realm! Luli sighed in his soul. The Dharma realm was strange, and he hadn't figured it out yet. He didn't expect that he had passed away. The Dharma realm would stay here forever until the Eye of Destruction was cracked or a warrior at the complete completion of the Dharma realm came in. Wait! At that moment, Luli remembered something. The soul-devouring bead could become intangible for a short period of time. Previously, the soul-devouring bead went into his head and flew out just now. If so, then the soul-devouring bead could go into the Dharma realm as well. As long as he was in the Dharma realm, his soul would be safe. Before the soul-devouring bead was destroyed, Luli flew it into the divine elixir. The soul-devouring bead entered the divine elixir and then entered the Dharma realm. Okay. Luli was relieved when he was in the Dharma realm. At least, his soul would not be preserved for a while. Even though his soul might be trapped here forever, at least his body and soul wouldn't be destroyed for the time being. He flew the soul-devouring bead around in the Dharma realm. The energy of destruction was sucked in and condensed. As long as he stayed away from the energy of destruction and the toxic liquid, his soul would not be harmed. What should I do next? Luli was confused. His head must have been crushed. That was to say, apart from the divine elixir, there was nothing left of his body. His interspatial rings and interspatial artifacts were gone as well. The body that he had been cultivating for so many years was destroyed, all in vain. Luli was filled with sorrow. He had been working so hard to get to where he was now, but in the end, he had to die here. He was not willing to accept this. The most important thing was that the Lu family was not settled down yet. If the Lu family could be settled down, then he wouldn't have so many regrets. Emperor Yen said that death would protect the Lu family whether Luli was dead or not. But if Luli died, death would no longer take special care of the Lu family. The Lu family did not have many powerful warriors. It would be difficult for the Lu family to rise. The death might take care of the Lu family for decades, centuries, or even thousands of years. Who would remember Luli? The Lu family could be destroyed just because of a foppish young master. If Lu Ling was smart enough, she could ask Yu Yang to send them back to the Middle King's universe. As long as the Red Dragon race did not go to the Middle King's universe, there would be hope for the Lu family to survive. Alas, I can't worry about that now. Chapter 3263. What? Astro Emperor and Blood Emperor were surprised when Lu Li's soul entered the realm of magic. Astro Emperor's eyes glowed as well. He frowned as if he could not figure out what was going on. Blood Emperor observed for a while and asked, Astro Emperor, what is going on? His soul has entered the realm of magic? This realm of magic is miraculous. It can absorb the energy of destruction? Astro Emperor, can you sense what is going on in the realm of magic? No. Astro Emperor shook his head. This realm of magic is strange. It was strange when it was formed. A fifth tribulation warrior can build a realm of magic directly. He is a freak. How long can his soul survive in the realm of magic? Blood Emperor asked. Can he have a chance to rebuild his body? I remember that if a soul stays in the realm of magic for too long, the origin of the soul will dissipate. By then, the 3 primary souls will be gone and only the 7 physical souls will be left. That will be the remnant souls. They will never be able to recover. Yes, Astro Emperor said with certainty. Judging by the strength of Lu Li's soul, in less than 30 years, his primary soul will dissipate. By then, he will be a wandering ghost. The remnant souls can last for tens of thousands of years. Of course, if his remnant souls come out, they will be crushed by the energy of destruction. This is the origin of destruction, not the average energy of destruction. 30 years? Blood Emperor touched his beard and said solemnly, Lu Li's soul has entered the realm of magic. I don't know what is going on. But he does not have any top-level materials. It is unlikely that he can rebuild his body in the realm of magic. I don't think he can escape this time. What is more, Blood Emperor sighed and shook his head again. Even if he can rebuild his soul and come out from the realm of magic, he will still be doomed. He cannot fight against the energy of destruction. Astro Emperor, are you sure you cannot help him? No. Astro Emperor shook his head. Master has given us an order. We are only observers and inspectors. We can only record the situation of all the 7 trials and report to her in time. We definitely cannot help any 7 tribulation heaven emanations. It's not like you don't know Lady's temper. If you violate her iron rule, you should know the consequences. Alas, Blood Emperor sighed again. He was confused. Lord, didn't you help Luli as well? Why did they leave Luli alone? Isn't Master too cold-blooded and heartless? Blood Emperor! Star Emperor's tone suddenly turned cold, and he scolded. Don't ever question His Excellency, understand? Otherwise, don't blame me for being heartless. I misspoke. The Blood Emperor rubbed his nose in embarrassment. He sat down and said, "Then let's wait here for 30 years. Let's see if he can reconstruct his fleshly body within 30 years. If it can't be reconstructed, then he can't be saved." And Astro Emperor stopped watching. He took out the chessboard and said with a smile, "Come on, let's play a game of chess. Almost 30 years will pass." The two elders sat cross-legged on the ground, no longer paying attention to the situation in the Eye of Destruction, and focused on playing chess. They played very, very slowly. Sometimes, it was estimated that they would only place a chess piece after 1 or 2 years. If that was the case, it might really take 30 years to play a game of chess. What? On the other side of the Eye of Destruction, Immortal Hermit of the South Pole, who had been cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes. 3 rays of light glowed in his eyes. He frowned and was surprised. After a moment, he stood up and walked over to the Eye of Destruction. He squinted his eyes and looked down. The Chief Patriarch who had been cultivating next to him opened his eyes as well. He walked over, stood next to Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and asked, "What is it?" Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said nothing. He closed his eyes to sense for a moment before he said, "Lu Li's soul is gone." "Gone?" The Chief Patriarch was surprised. "Then," he asked, "are you saying that Lu Li is dead?" "I am not sure." Immortal Hermit of the South Pole shook his head. "There are only 2 explanations. Either Lu Li's soul is gone, or his soul or body has entered a strange place that even I cannot sense." "A place that even you cannot sense?" The Chief Patriarch asked with uncertainty. "Is there a place in the entire chaotic star region that you cannot sense?" "Yes." Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said with certainty. "For example, the Enlightenment Realm. If the warrior I am tracking has entered the Enlightenment Realm, then I cannot sense it from the outside. Also, the Eternal Realm. I cannot sense the Dharma realms made by warriors at the consummate level." "I understand now." The Chief Patriarch understood now. The Dharma realms made by consummate level warriors were flawless. It was normal that he could not sense it. But was there such a Dharma realm in the Eye of Destruction? Even if there was, Lu Li's chi and energy were so weak that he must be half dead. The Eye of Destruction was filled with destructive energy. Lu Li wouldn't be able to move an inch. The Chief Patriarch thought for a while and asked, "Immortal Hermit, what do you think is the possibility that this punk is dead?" Immortal Hermit of the South Pole's shirt fluttered. After a while, he said, "More than 70%. After all, this punk is only an Emperor Realm warrior. This is a shortcoming." "Then there is no problem." The Chief Patriarch put on a light smile. He didn't capture Lu Li, but he was sure that Lu Li was dead. This was a relief for him. He had accomplished a major task and wiped out a formidable enemy. Wait for another year? The Chief Patriarch was still worried. He said with a smile, "Immortal Hermit, can you stay here for a year?" "If there is no problem after a year, we will leave." "Sure." Immortal Hermit of the South Pole nodded. 1 year was too short for him. It would pass in a blink when he cultivated. He wanted to make sure as well. Otherwise, if Lu Li escaped, it would be a great loss to his reputation. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole went back to the hill and sat with his legs crossed. The Chief Patriarch crushed a jade talisman. Several hours later, an Emperor Realm warrior came. It was a top-level scout of the Rainbow race. "Greetings, Chief Patriarch." The Emperor Realm warrior dropped to one knee. The Chief Patriarch of the Rainbow race waved his hand and said, "Rise. Report to our family patriarch." The Chief Patriarch threw out a jade talisman and said, "Immortal Hermit said that Lu Li's soul might have dissipated. To be on the safe side, we will stay here for a year. Tell our family patriarch to go to the Heavenland universe and find out the situation of the Lu family first. Then, we will think of a way to kill them. Leave no one alive. Kill them all." Lu Li had killed too many Rainbow Race warriors. If Luli was still alive, the chief patriarch wouldn't think about getting back at the Lu family. Now, it was highly likely that Luli was dead. Naturally, the chief patriarch of the rainbow race wanted revenge. It was true that death could protect the Lu family, but the rainbow race had suffered a great loss. They were disgraced. How could the chief patriarch of the rainbow race be satisfied without wiping out the Lu family? How could the rainbow race regain their dignity? Don't worry, chief patriarch. The Emperor Realm warrior nodded and said with hatred, "We will not give up even if we are under the protection of death. We will kill every single one of the Lu family even if we have to pay with our lives." End of this chapter. Chapter 3264. At the Tianyue city, Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang were sitting in a castle. They had been sitting there for a while, but they didn't say anything, as if they were waiting for something. After half a day, an old man in a black robe came in. He bowed to Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang and casually reported, "The latest information is here. Luli has entered the Eye of Destruction. The Rainbow Race Master and the powerful warriors of the Hu race have left. But as of today, Luli's Jade Talisman of Life is still intact. He is not dead yet." Eye of Destruction? Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang looked at each other. Their expressions were even more awful. They had received news that the immortal hermit of the South Pole was on the move, so they were nervous. Now that they got the news, they were even more nervous. The Eye of Destruction was famous. Some powerful warriors of the Grim Reaper had gone in to check, but almost all of them died. Only one Grim Reaper was lucky enough to escape. That being said, his origin energy was severely damaged as well. He could not be saved. After he came out, he passed away after leaving some words. For Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang, the Eye of Destruction was a dangerous place. They would die for sure. Even Yen's sovereign and one of the 9 powerful warriors might not be able to come out, let alone them. Even though Luli's Jade Talisman of Life was still intact, Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang didn't think Luli could come out alive. Even if Luli could survive in there for a while, he would still die in the end. "Don't worry too much," the old man in the black robe said. "Entering the Eye of Destruction is the idea of the higher-ups. Only by entering here can Luli have a chance of survival. Otherwise, he will not be able to escape." The idea of the higher-ups? Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang calmed down a bit. The higher-ups must have their own ideas to allow Luli to enter the Eye of Destruction. The higher-ups would not act rashly. There must be a deeper meaning behind this. There was a chance that Luli could survive. "There is one more thing," the old man reminded. "According to our information, the Rainbow Race has sent out many top-level scouts. They must be coming to the Tianyue city and the Heavenland region. They might be targeting Luli's people." "Alright, we got it." Yu Yang nodded and waved his hand for the old man to withdraw. Yu Yang pondered for a moment before saying, "Skirich City is fine, but I don't believe that the Rainbow Race's martial artists would dare to cause trouble at my residence. As for the clansmen in Tianlu City, they won't be easy to manage. After all, the higher-ups will definitely not agree to send experts to guard Tianlu boundary." "Then there's only one way," Mo Qianqian said. "Didn't the Lu family members learn assassin skills for a period of time? Break them up into smaller groups and send them to all the realms of our death god to hide themselves. Whether they can survive or not will depend on their luck. Also, the Rainbow Race can't possibly send a large number of experts to all of our realms, right?" "Sure." Yu Yang nodded his head. After all, the Grim Reaper was extremely famous. Every boundary had experts guarding it. Even if the Rainbow Race sent some experts, they could only sneak in as assassins. In this way, it would be extremely difficult to assassinate the Lu family. The experts from every boundary wouldn't just sit back and watch. Of course, this would require the approval of Grim Reaper's higher-ups. Yen Emperor should be back by now, right? Let's go and find Yen Emperor. Yu Yang and Emo Qianqian stood up and walked outside. They quickly found Emperor Yen. The latter listened to their suggestions and pondered for a moment before nodding. I will talk to the higher-ups about this. Whether it succeeds or not will depend on luck. Okay. Emo Qianqian and Yu Yang were relieved. Yen Emperor enjoyed a high status in the Grim Reaper. This was not a big deal. The higher-ups wouldn't say anything if Yen Emperor was here. Sure enough, half a day later, Yen Emperor came back and the higher-ups agreed. After all, Lu Li was still alive. The Grim Reaper didn't protect the Lu family disciples. The Lu family could sneak into the other universes by themselves. This was not a violation of the agreement. As for the powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race going to the other universes, if they had conflicts with the Grim Reaper, it would be out of the Grim Reaper's hands. After all, the Grim Reaper was made up of assassins and assassins had extreme personalities. It was normal for the Grim Reaper to kick you out when you entered their territory. The headquarters of the Grim Reaper couldn't give the order. The Lu family and the other major families had been training for almost 2 years. It was not a long time and the warriors of the major families were weak. But they were top-level assassins after all. As trainers they worked hard. They had no other choice. This was a matter of life and death. Therefore, during this time, most of the warriors of the major families had been making rapid progress. It was not in their fighting abilities, but in their skills as assassins. For example, camouflage, stealth, escape, poison, hidden weapons, and so on. The top-level assassins of the Grim Reaper were proficient in all kinds of survival skills. A top-level assassin must have survival and assassination skills. Only by surviving could the assassins be assassinated. After the assassination, the assassins had to find a way to survive. In order to survive and to kill, the assassins would think of all kinds of method. They would resort to all kinds of despicable and shameless means. There was no virtue in the Book of Assassins. There was only survival and killing the enemy. The 70,000 to 80,000 warriors of the major families split up and went to dozens of universes ruled by the Grim Reaper. Their identities were disguised as well. They had all disguised themselves as martial artists of other races. Even a Saint Emperor would not be able to see through their disguises. Of course, the top-level assassins could. But the assassins of the Grim Reaper respected Lu Li's men because they respected Lu Li. After the battle at the Immortal Rainbow City, Lu Li's name was known throughout the Chaotic Star region. He challenged a major family by himself. An Emperor Realm warrior challenged a major family with 3 warriors who were infinitely close to the completion and hundreds of Saint Emperors. For many Grim Reaper, this was impossible. It was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Even Emperor Yen would be killed by the Rainbow Race soon, let alone Lu Li. Lu Li had done a good job. Not only did he kill many warriors and Saint Emperors of the Rainbow Race, he destroyed the Immortal Rainbow Mountain. Even when pursued by so many powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race, he broke into several cities. He came and went without a trace. He killed whoever he wanted. This was rarely seen in the history of the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper had been around for millions of years. Only a few such freaks had appeared. Lu Li had made the Grim Reaper proud. Naturally, he had made the assassins of the Grim Reaper proud as well. Lu Li's glorious achievements had won them over. Naturally, they would take care of Lu Li's family and friends. The Grim Reaper was a loose force and the assassins were not on good terms with each other. However, when the families and friends of the Grim Reaper were in trouble or in danger, the other Grim Reapers would help. That was because the Grim Reaper could die at any time. Many Grim Reapers had families and friends. If you helped others today, others would help your family and friends when you died. Therefore, even though the headquarters of the Grim Reaper did not give any orders, the 70,000 to 80,000 warriors of the major families under Lu Li's command were scattered to dozens of universes and disappeared. The dozens universes ruled by the Grim Reaper looked similar to the universes outside. However, there were powerful assassins everywhere. If the powerful warriors of the rainbow race dared to sneak in, the consequences would not be good. Third Sect Master. Chapter 3265. Luli was confused. Of course, anyone who had lost their physical body and was left with only their soul would be confused as well. Luli did not know how long his soul could stay like this, but he could clearly feel that his soul was getting weaker after it left his physical body. The weakening was slow, but it was evident. The physical body was the root and the soul was the root. Without the soul, the physical body would become the walking dead. When the soul left the physical body, it would become a rootless duckweed. An average person would have perished. The soul of a powerful warrior could be preserved for a while, but not for long. Luli was panicking. He didn't know what to do. Even though he could control the soul-devouring bead to fly around, he felt like he had become a wandering ghost. The Dharma realm had already become very big. At the moment, it was estimated to be millions of miles wide. But the realm of magic was barren. There was nothing. Apart from the source of energy, the toxic liquid, the purple divine liquid, and the energy of destruction that had just come in, there was nothing else. Well, the realm of magic seems to be absorbing Shui-Qi in heaven and earth. Luli sensed that the realm of magic was absorbing Shui-Qi like crazy. Maybe it was because the Shui-Qi outside was too rich. But what was the point of absorbing more Shui-Qi for him? Apart from the increase in source of energy, nothing else mattered. Building a physical body with source of energy? Luli had thought about it, but it was not possible. To build a physical body, top-level materials were needed and Luli knew some of them. For example, there was a kind of human immortal fruit, which was a top-level treasure for building a physical body. Many destroyed physical bodies would be rebuilt with human immortal fruit. Some warriors even thought their own physical bodies were not good enough, so they built a new one and started from scratch. There were also some top-level materials. Luli could find someone to buy them for him if he was outside. But here, there was nothing he could do. If there were strong thunderbolts, he could find a way to build a physical body. Thunderbolts had the ability of destruction and rebirth. It was a pity that there was nothing here. Purple divine liquid? Purple divine liquid could only strengthen the physical body and soul. Toxic liquid? That was more poisonous. The energy of destruction? Not even a 3-year-old would believe in building a physical body with the energy of destruction. Not even Luli himself. Of course, it would not work. That was the energy of destruction, not the energy of life. After thinking for a month, Luli still didn't know what to do. He could not go out. Once he controlled the soul-devouring orb to go out, he would be torn to pieces by the endless destructive power outside. Besides, even if he went out, what could he do? Other than the power of destruction, this eye of destruction only contained bones and some insects. Could it be that it was made from bones? Or was it condensed from insects? Should I split a strand of my soul remembrance to investigate? Luli had seen a secret skill of the soul that could cultivate a strand of soul power to explore. Of course, this soul remembrance couldn't be maintained for too long, so the range it could detect was only a few tens of thousands of kilometers. Give it a try. Luli had nothing to do here anyway. He began to cultivate his soul power. In 3 or 4 days, he had generated 1 strand of soul power. He controlled his soul remembrance to fly out. However, not long after his soul remembrance flew out, it was immediately torn apart by the destructive power. Useless! Luli gave up. The energy of destruction was overwhelming. It was everywhere. There was nowhere to hide. He wondered if the Thunder Torment Beast would be of any use if it died. He had cut off the spiritual connection with the Tribulation Thunder Beast. He didn't know if it was alive or not. But Luli believed that the Tribulation Thunder Beast was dead. There was so much destructive power. No matter how strong the tribulation thunder beast was, it must have died. Luli had nothing to do again. After a few days, he felt he was losing his mind. He couldn't go on like this. He might lose his mind. After all, he was not one of those old guys who could endure loneliness. He had lived through a long time and had a strong mind. There were still many evil thoughts in his mind. If he kept on thinking, he might really lose his mind. Since he couldn't overthink, he must find something to do to calm himself down for a while. Study the secret skill of soul. There was nothing Luli could do except to study the secret skill of soul. He had no physical body, so he couldn't cultivate it. He didn't have any elixirs either, so he couldn't cultivate his soul. Also, what was the point even if he could cultivate his soul? He couldn't keep his soul from being destroyed forever, could he? Luli had to start cultivating the secret skill of soul. He randomly picked one just to let himself forget some things and calm down for a while. Time flew by quickly. Soon, Luli had been in there for a year. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole opened his eyes on time, and so did the Chief Patriarch. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole said seriously, "It's been a year and nothing has happened. He must be dead." "Then let's go back to the immortal rainbow universe." The Chief Patriarch nodded. It was pointless to stay here. It had been a year. Luli could not be alive. But to be on the safe side, the Chief Patriarch called in a scout and mobilized more than a dozen Great Emperor Realm warriors to stay here. When the Great Emperor Realm warriors arrived, Immortal Hermit of the South Pole and the Chief Patriarch left. They took a battleship back to the immortal rainbow universe. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole was warmly welcomed by the Rainbow Race leader. At the same time, the Rainbow Race leader made an announcement, confirming that Luli had been killed. They asked Immortal Hermit of the South Pole to go after Luli, and he could testify that Luli had been killed. Such an announcement could not restore the Rainbow Race's fallen reputation. At the very least, it could prove that the Rainbow Race had killed their enemy. Revenge had been taken. The Heavenly God City was in an uproar. Many warriors were still betting on when Luli would make a move. They didn't expect that Luli was dead. This was a great loss for the Rainbow Race. With Luli's death, many of their bets would be confiscated by the dealer. Therefore, many warriors began to clamor, asking the Rainbow Race to hand over Luli's body. What if they could prove that Luli was dead? How could the Rainbow Race hand over Luli's body? There was no body. Therefore, the Rainbow Race didn't care. They merely said that Luli's body was torn up and that Immortal Hermit of the South Pole could testify that Luli was dead. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole was famous, but those warriors didn't care. Could it be that they could just find a random powerful warrior to testify? Could it be that the Rainbow Race had been wiped out if they could find a powerful warrior and say that the Rainbow Race had been wiped out? The warriors began to clamor. All kinds of rumors were flying around. At the same time, many warriors started to spread rumors, saying that the Rainbow Race was weak and that they were lying because they couldn't kill Luli. Not only were the Rainbow Race weak, but they also had bad morals. In short, all kinds of negative news were flying everywhere. The reputation of the Rainbow Race had already plummeted, and now, it became even worse. Even the Hu race was implicated, and their reputation became much worse. The young masters and young ladies of the Heavenly God City were disappointed. They had an agreement with Luli in half a year. Now that Luli was dead, what was the point of them staying here? Let's go. Lady Yuan was disappointed. She had imagined how she would humiliate Luli and how she would kill him. She didn't expect that Luli would die like this. Her heart was empty. She didn't want to stay here anymore. She left in a hurry with the powerful warriors of the Guam race. Master 3. Chapter 3266. Because of Lu Li's death, the commotion gradually died down. All the young masters and young ladies left, as did the warriors and scouts. The immortal rainbow universe quieted down as well. Immortal Hermit of the South Pole left and the Rainbow Race began to clean up the mess. Looking at the ruined cities and the devastated Immortal Rainbow Mountain, the tribe leader of the Rainbow Race felt like weeping, but no tears would come. "How is the investigation going?" Standing on the ruins of the Immortal Rainbow Mountain, the tribe leader of the Rainbow Race turned to the three patriarchs of the Rainbow Race. The latter nodded and said, "The investigation is almost done. But the situation is a bit complicated. Lu Li's family and relatives, as well as the core warriors of several families under him, are all in the Tianyue city now. They are in the Yu family's manor. Yu Yang is still living in this village. If we want to assassinate him, we will be making an enemy out of the Yu family." "The God of Death is breaking the agreement?" The tribe leader of the Rainbow Race snorted. "Is he not afraid that we will ask the Hu race to trouble them?" "I don't think we can ask the Hu race." The three patriarchs of the Rainbow Race shook their heads and sighed. "The Hu race's reputation has been affected. They will not be happy if we ask them for help for such a trivial matter." So, the tribe leader of the Rainbow Race asked, "What about the others?" "I don't think they are all at the Tianyue city." The Tianyue city was the headquarters of the God of Death. No matter how many powerful warriors they sent there, they would be courting death. Even if the three of them were close to the consummate realm, they would still be doomed if they went there. "No." The three patriarchs of the Rainbow Race shook their heads. He said, "The others are scattered and have snuck into the universes of the God of Death. We have talked to the God of Death about this. The headquarters of the God of Death responded that they ran away on their own. The headquarters of the God of Death could not interfere. After all of Lu Li's people are God of Death now and they can go to any universe." Shameless. The tribe leader of the Rainbow Race was enraged. His eyes flickered as he said coldly, "Go and hire assassins from several organizations. Give them the information and tell them that killing one of Lu Li's people will cost 100 million celestial stones. They have 70 or 80,000 people, right? We can afford 7 or 8 trillion celestial stones. How can the Rainbow Race keep a foothold in the chaotic universe if we don't take revenge?" The Rainbow Race's third elder was a little hesitant. The Rainbow Race had suffered such a huge loss this time, and so many of their experts had perished. Now, they were spending so many celestial stones to assassinate some Lu clansmen who posed no threat. He felt that it was too much of a loss. He said, "Clan King, I think we should forget about it. We've lost so much this time, we can't hold on for much longer. The clansmen of the Lu clan are all low-level warriors. Many of them have undergone 4 or 5 tribulations. There's no point in killing them." "You're wrong," the leader of the Rainbow Race said in an unquestionable tone. "What is the foundation of a great race? It was prestige and strength. This time we lost a lot of our strength, but the 3 of us didn't die, so we didn't hurt our foundation. However, we have lost a lot of prestige. Now, our clan has become the laughingstock of the chaotic starfields. If we can't bring back Lu Li's body, we will have to make up for it in other ways." "That's right," the Rainbow Race's Grand Elder said. "Tribe King is right. We are seeking revenge, not only to vent our anger, but also to let the forces in the chaotic starfields know one thing. We will kill anyone who dares to go against the Rainbow Race at all costs. We're not killing the people of the Lu clan, we're killing the big clans that have designs on us. We can afford a few trillion celestial stones. As long as we can deter the other forces, it will be worth it to spend billions of celestial stones." "I see." The 3 founding patriarchs nodded and said, "Okay, I will make the arrangements now. Also, we will negotiate openly with the Grim Reaper. They have an agreement with us that they will not interfere in the fight between us and the Lu family. If we send assassins after the Lu family, they will not interfere. If the Grim Reaper interfered, then no matter how many celestial stones they spent, no assassins would dare to enter the Grim Reaper's territory. The Grim Reaper was the king of the world of assassins. Assassins from other assassin organizations wouldn't dare to mess around. The 3 founding patriarchs went to make the arrangements. Soon, all the assassin organizations received the Rainbow Races list. A warrior who had undergone 4 or 5 tribulations was worth 100 million celestial stones. Countless assassins were instantly excited, especially those low-grade assassins. Normally, it was harder for them to earn some celestial stones. The 3 founding patriarchs and the Grim Reaper had also received a clear answer. The Grim Reaper officials would not interfere in the fight between the Rainbow Race and the Lu family. The Rainbow Race's martial artists could also enter the Grim Reaper's territory to search on their own. Of course, the Rainbow Race's martial artists could not wantonly destroy or attack other Grim Reapers. If not, they would anger the other domain's assassins. The Rainbow Race would not care. After receiving the Grim Reaper's clear answer, countless assassins from the assassin organizations were instantly excited. The 60 to 70,000 clansmen of the Lu family were like piles of celestial stones in the eyes of these assassins. 6 to 7 trillion celestial stones were waiting for them to collect. The Lu family's battle strength was very low. They were like lambs. As long as they could find these lambs, it would be equivalent to obtaining countless celestial stones. This news quickly spread throughout the heavenly chaotic star regions. The Rainbow Race had intentionally spread this news. The Rainbow Race announced that no matter which clan or faction they belonged to, as long as they could take the head of a Lu family member, they could come to the Rainbow Race to collect the bounty. The Rainbow Race also hoped that the Death God's assassins would do it themselves. After all, the Lu family members had infiltrated the various domains of the Death God. If the Death God's own assassins were to make a move, none of the Lu family members would be able to escape. There was actually another reason for spreading this news. It was to send a message to the entire heavenly chaotic star regions. If anyone offended the Rainbow Race, they would do everything they could to kill their entire clan. Once this news spread, countless martial artists immediately rushed towards the Death God's domain. If the Death God officials did not interfere, wouldn't the Lu family members be like lambs waiting to be slaughtered? Many of the Death God's assassins were also tempted. However, after Mo Qianqian secretly sent a message, none of the Death God's assassins dared to make a move. Mo Qianqian sent a message. The Death Gods that she thought of were all Death Gods that had pride and honor. They would not bow down for even half a bucket of rice. If they did not have pride, then they were not fit to be a member of the Death God. Mo Qianqian's words were very vague, but the meaning was very clear. Whoever dared to touch the Lu family members was not fit to be the Death God. Mo Qianqian was a little demon girl with countless admirers. If they offended this young lady, not only would they not be able to stay in the Death God, but they would also be beheaded. Yu Yang quickly sent a message. He agreed with Mo Qianqian's words. Honor was very important. The Death God's dignity was not to be challenged. As the Death Gods, they were all martial artists that did unspeakable things every day. Their comprehension ability was very strong. The hidden meaning behind Yu Yang's message was to call on all the Death Gods to take action on their own. They would think of ways to kill the assassins that entered and let them know the consequences of challenging the Death God's dignity. In reality, even without Yu Yang's message, many of the Death Gods in the other domains were already rubbing their palms. Who dared to enter their domain? These assassins and assassins from the other factions were hanging themselves. Were they tired of living? The Third Sect Master. Chapter 3267. Strange Heaven Domain was a domain controlled by the Mo clan. This domain was huge and had tens of thousands of cities and billions of citizens. There were hundreds of main cities here, and in each city, there were countless warriors and powerhouses. The Lu clan had hidden thousands of clansmen in this domain. In such a huge domain, a few thousand people were like a group of small fish in a huge lake. How difficult would it be to find them? The Lu clan's martial artists were all divided into groups. Each group had 10 members and they would find their own places to infiltrate. Some of them would infiltrate a merchant association, some would infiltrate a tribe, some would enter a mine, and some would disguise themselves as apprentices. In such a huge domain and with so many cities, it was too easy to infiltrate. Today, a group of martial artists had infiltrated the strange heaven domain. This group of martial artists didn't look special and looked like ordinary martial artists. They were like mud flowing into the sea as they easily infiltrated the cities and disappeared. They were all assassins from an assassin organization. Originally, they thought it would be difficult to infiltrate the strange heaven domain. They didn't expect it to be so easy. Furthermore, the martial artists in the cities didn't seem to discover their identities. As they walked in the cities, no experts paid attention to them. Not bad, not bad. 3 or 4 assassins walked around the cities and were very satisfied. They found an inn to rest for a while and to scout for information. Finally, they found the clansmen of the Lu clan and started to assassinate them. When they entered the inn, a few martial artists hurriedly walked out of the inn. The one in front was a young master dressed in luxurious robes. He seemed to be drunk and was swaying left and right. A few assassins frowned slightly and moved to the side as they didn't want to bump into this young master. However, at this moment, this young master's body swayed a few times before he started to vomit. Furthermore, he vomited on an assassin's face. This assassin was instantly infuriated as he cursed. The young master was already drunk. When he heard someone cursing him, he immediately drew his battle saber and slashed at an assassin, courting death. A few subordinates beside the young master didn't say anything else and drew their weapons. Then, in just a few moves, they effortlessly chopped the assassins into pieces. Who dares to use force in the city? There was an angry roar as countless city guards surrounded the young master and his subordinates and escorted them to the city lord residence. However, when this young master entered the city lord residence, the soldiers immediately untied him and greeted him with smiles. They nodded and bowed before sending him out from the back door. Such a scene was happening in countless cities in the strange heaven domain. The entire strange heaven domain was filled with assassins and assassins. Assassins were the best at gathering information. The moment the assassins outside came in, they were all locked down. All kinds of disputes, all kinds of coincidences, all kinds of scams, in short, all kinds of methods were used. The goal was to make the assassins from the outside clash with the local martial artists. Once there was a conflict, the local martial artists wouldn't care and would of it. Of the local martial artists of the strange domain would kill. In just half a month, the thousands of assassins that entered the heavenly wondrous realm had all disappeared without a trace. At the same time, this scene was also playing out in the other realms. This time, at least hundreds of thousands of martial artists from the major assassin organizations had come, and they were all secretly entering the major realms. This scene was happening in other universes as well. This time, the assassin organizations sent at least hundreds of thousands of martial artists into different universes secretly. However, these martial artists were like moths to the flame. Once they went in, they would all disappear without a trace. They wanted to go in and kill the Lu clan's martial artists to obtain some celestial stones. However, all of them died, and only a few of them managed to escape. Of course, Lu Li's martial artists of the Da family suffered casualties. Some of them were assassinated. Thousands of them died. Some of them were even killed by the martial artists of the Grim Reaper. After all, many of them were weak. Accidents were bound to happen. Only 4,000 or 5,000 out of 70,000 to 80,000 martial artists died. This was already a good result. 3 months later, more than a dozen assassin organizations stopped and didn't dare to send any more assassins. They went to the Rainbow Race in anger and demanded compensation for their losses. Otherwise, they would assassinate the martial artists of the Rainbow Race. 3 months later, More than a dozen assassin organizations quieted down and didn't dare to send more assassins. They went to the Rainbow Race in anger and asked them to compensate for their losses. Otherwise, they would assassinate the martial artists of the Rainbow Race. The higher-ups of the Grim Reaper sent the Yen Emperor to negotiate. The Yen Emperor took out a pile of documents, which were the reports from the cities. The upper echelons of the Grim Reaper sent Emperor Yen to negotiate. Emperor Yen took out a stack of documents, which were all reports from the major cities. The Rainbow Race's powerful warrior smiled. Tens of thousands of documents could be forged. What was the use of the documents? The Yen Emperor said righteously. The officials of the Grim Reaper didn't give any orders, nor did they take part in any actions against the assassins. The Grim Reaper's officials didn't give any orders, nor did they participate in any actions against the assassins. All the major universes were Grim Reapers. The Grim Reaper had a bad temper. Conflicts were inevitable. The cities had punished the assassins who acted recklessly. The major universes were slaughtered. The powerful warriors of the Rainbow Race and the Hu race didn't believe the Yen Emperor's words. But what could they do? Were they going to fight the Grim Reaper? The Rainbow Race was not strong enough. The Hu race didn't want to fight such a powerful force either. Since they couldn't fight or negotiate, what else could they do? They had to admit that they were unlucky. The Rainbow Race and the Hu race's powerful warriors pestered the Sky Eclipse City. The Yen Emperor was like a dead pig that didn't fear boiling water. The Hu race and the Rainbow Race's powerful warriors had no choice but to retreat. The representatives of the dozen assassin organizations went to the immortal Rainbow World. The Rainbow Race's mission this time was 100 million celestial stones per head. They didn't have any gains, but so many assassins had died. The assassin organizations had suffered huge losses, and they were naturally unhappy. Since they couldn't offend the Grim Reaper, did they have to be afraid of the Rainbow Race? The Rainbow Race tribe leader was enraged. They didn't have any gains this time. The Rainbow Race's mission had become a joke. Now, a group of assassin organizations that hadn't done anything were asking for celestial stones? The Rainbow Race tribe leader was already very angry recently. These assassin organizations were just small organizations, and they actually dared to extort the Rainbow Race? The Rainbow Race tribe leader sent the guests off on the spot. The dozen assassin organizations were enraged. The Rainbow Race had promised that the Grim Reaper wouldn't make a move. They didn't expect the Grim Reaper to make a move. Moreover, he was ruthless, causing them to suffer such heavy losses. Now, the Rainbow Race tribe leader not only didn't want to compensate them, but he also didn't want to give them any face. The dozen or so assassin organizations' formidable martial artists immediately left the immortal Rainbow World. Following that, their assassins started to move and entered the various domains of the Rainbow Race. By the time the Rainbow Race received the news, many assassins had already infiltrated the various domains. The Rainbow Race hurriedly mobilized their armies and formidable martial artists to deal with them. However, the Rainbow Race wasn't the Grim Reaper. Those assassins couldn't find them at all. A tragedy happened very quickly. The various domains controlled by the Rainbow Race were attacked by countless assassins. Almost all the cities were in a mess. Assassinations were happening everywhere. Smoke rose everywhere and blood flowed like rivers. Third Sect Master. Chapter 3268. The Rainbow Race was in a miserable state. Those assassins weren't hired by anyone. They were acting on their own. They didn't have a clear goal this time. They just wanted to destroy, assassinate, burn, kill, pillage, and commit all sorts of crimes. In short, they wanted to make the Rainbow Race miserable. Many assassins didn't have a bottom line. Moreover, they were very familiar with evil deed. They were creatures that walked in the darkness and were very good at doing such despicable things. The dozens of domains controlled by the Rainbow Race were in a tragic state. Countless cities were flooded with blood and many cities were destroyed. During this period of time, the number of martial artists that died had reached a few 100 million. The losses were uncountable. Many citizens were frightened. They could only move their families away from the domains controlled by the rainbow race. After all, they were just ordinary citizens. It didn't matter where they went. The rainbow race was infuriated. Countless experts were mobilized to search for those assassins. However, before the experts of the rainbow race arrived, the assassins all scattered into the wilderness. Moreover, these assassins knew how to disguise themselves. They disguised themselves as citizens of the rainbow race's domain so that the experts of the rainbow race couldn't identify them. Of course, many assassins were killed, but most of them ran away. After they ran away, they didn't leave immediately. Instead, they waited for the experts of the rainbow race to rescue the other domains before returning to assassinate them. There were dozens of domains and each domain had tens of thousands of cities. The rainbow race only had over 200 elders. Even if they were scattered, they couldn't supervise all the cities. What was the most powerful thing about an assassin? It was survival and assassination. They had to avoid the experts and find the weak to attack. Although the rainbow race had many armies and experts, they couldn't take care of all the domains. The dozens of assassin organizations were determined. This time, they wanted to kill the rainbow race until they were terrified. Then, they could extort a large amount of celestial stones to make up for their losses. The rainbow race went crazy. Their elders split into 5 to 6 teams to put out the fires. However, once their experts left, the assassins immediately retreated. After the experts left, the assassins came again. Then, they split their elders into dozens of teams. However, they were too weak this time. A few of their elders were assassinated and more than 10 saint emperors were killed. These assassin organizations all had saint kings, and their battle prowess was even more terrifying. Once they took action, mountains would collapse and the earth would crack. Assassinating a saint king was extremely easy. Most importantly, their saint emperor assassin would immediately flee after the assassination and would not linger in battle. As a result, even if the 3 experts of the rainbow race, who were infinitely close to great perfection realm, wanted to chase after him, they would not know where to go. A stretch of scorched earth. Countless cities were destroyed and countless civilians were killed. Distress signals were sent out everywhere. The 3 experts of the rainbow race were badly battered. They actually knew the headquarters of some assassin organizations. They could kill their way there and destroy their headquarters. But they didn't have the time. It would probably take half a year for them to go back and forth. Moreover, more than a dozen assassin organizations were moving out together this time. So what if they destroyed 1 or 2 assassin organizations' headquarters? By the time they returned, most of the rainbow race had been killed. What to do? This was the biggest problem facing the 3 experts of the rainbow race. If they were to continue fighting, the rainbow race tribe leader was confident that he could kill all the assassins and uproot all the assassin organizations. However, if he did that, more than half of the people of the rainbow race would die. Only a few dozen saint emperors would be left. The rainbow race would also be severely injured and would not be able to recover for 10,000 years. Of course, they could also choose another method. They could ask the Hu race to send formidable martial artists over to help them suppress the assassins. However, the Hu race's domain was a little far from here. When the Hu race's formidable martial artists arrived, the rainbow race would also suffer huge losses. Furthermore, they had asked the Hu race for help during this period of time. If they kept looking for the Hu race would think that the rainbow race was useless. They would not be able to help them and would instead have to trouble them for everything. Since they couldn't fight, they could only negotiate. The rainbow race shouted for the assassin organizations to stop fighting and that they could negotiate. The assassin organizations immediately stopped fighting. They didn't really want to fight. They were fighting to extort money and recoup their losses. If they continued fighting, they would suffer even more losses. If they really angered the rainbow race, both sides would suffer great losses. More than a dozen assassin organizations sent 3 representatives to Immortal Dragon City. These 3 representatives were all Draconic. Those Saint Emperors were afraid that they would be killed if they angered the rainbow race. After the 3 Draconic warriors entered the Immortal Dragon City, the leader of the rainbow race didn't show up. Neither did the chief patriarch or the second patriarch. Only the third patriarch was sent to negotiate. The assassin organizations demanded an exorbitant price. They demanded that each assassin organization pay 10 trillion celestial stones, and the matter would be over. Otherwise, the assassin organizations would destroy the rainbow race at all costs. More than a dozen assassin organizations would have to pay more than 10 billion celestial stones. Not even the rainbow race could afford that amount unless they sold off all their treasures and materials. That would be enough. The rainbow race, of course, was not happy. There was no way to negotiate. The rainbow race didn't put on airs like last time. The 3 patriarchs of the rainbow race began to complain. They said that the rainbow race had spent a lot to help the rainbow demons. Later on, because of Lu Li's great loss, the rainbow race couldn't afford so many celestial stones. They could only offer 20 trillion celestial stones to compensate the assassin organizations. The difference was too great. The assassin organizations couldn't accept it. The negotiation failed. The 3 Draconic warriors left without hesitation. There was no need to negotiate anymore. They had to continue fighting. More than a dozen assassin organizations took action again. They began to kill and destroy. Countless requests for help came like snowflakes. The leader of the rainbow race had no choice but to send another message to the assassin organizations, informing them that the rainbow race was willing to pay 50 trillion celestial stones. If the assassin organizations were not satisfied, they would have to ask the Hu race for help. They swore that they would not rest until the assassin organizations were destroyed. This time, the rainbow race was determined. Clearly, this was their bottom line. The assassin organizations discussed and agreed. But the rainbow race had to gather enough celestial stones within 3 months. If they didn't have enough celestial stones, then they would use other materials, elixirs, and artifacts as replacements. If the rainbow race didn't hand over the celestial stones in 3 months, then the assassin organizations would attack like crazy. There would be no negotiation. The rainbow race had no other choice but to sell everything they had to gather celestial stones. 50 trillion celestial stones was an astronomical figure. Celestial stones alone would not be enough. They had to sell everything they had and use other materials. Fortunately, the rainbow race had been a wealthy race for many years and had accumulated countless materials. Even if they didn't use celestial stones, they could just take out some of the materials in their treasury, and they would have 50 trillion celestial stones. In less than 3 months, the rainbow race had gathered 50 trillion celestial stones in just over a month. All the assassin organizations retreated after they handed over the money. After the assassin organizations retreated, the leader of the rainbow race led a group of patriarchs to inspect the dozens of universes. The 3 powerful warriors of the rainbow race wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This time, the rainbow race was completely defeated. Not only did they suffer a great loss, but their reputation was tarnished. This was a catastrophe for the rainbow race. The rainbow race probably wouldn't be able to recover for at least 1,000 years. Third Sect Master. Chapter 3269. The fact that the rainbow race hired assassins became a laughingstock in the chaotic star region. On top of that, Lu Li slaughtered the rainbow race all by himself. The reputation of the rainbow race had been tarnished. On the other hand, the god of death had gained face because of these 2 incidents. The god of death was already famous and now he was even more prominent. The god of death didn't even send out the 9 leaders. It was just the god of death, and yet, the god of death had subdued the rainbow race. If the god of death sent out a powerful warrior, could the rainbow race be wiped out directly? Luli's name was like the sun at high noon. It was a pity that the rainbow race claimed that Luli was dead and immortal hermit of the South Pole had endorsed him. It had been a long time since Luli showed up to refute the rumor. Lu Ling and Lu Renhuang, on the other hand, were not worried. Lu Li's jade talisman of life was still intact, so he was not dead. Yu Yang and Mo Qianqian said as well that Lu Li was not dead. He just snuck into a dangerous place to avoid being hunted down. All the powerful warriors of the Lu family, including Lu Ling, went to cultivate. They didn't have to worry about the Lu family's people that had snuck into other universes. The god of death was taking good care of them. They didn't have to worry about their safety. Their battle prowess was also very low, and they were all given many divine medicines, enough for them to cultivate for a very long time. There was nothing they could do now. They could not help Lu Li. The only way to help Lu Li was to work hard to improve their abilities. Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang sent some scouts to sneak into the universe of destruction to observe. If Lu Li came out, they would know at once. There were some powerful warriors of the rainbow race there, but they could not find the scouts of the god of death. Mo Qianqian, Yu Yang and Yen Emperor could do nothing except wait for Lu Li to come out. If Lu Li could not come out, then nobody could save him. Lu Li was still studying soul skills. There was nothing he could do. He would lose his mind if he did not study the skills. He had to calm himself down in cultivation so that he could figure out a way. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Blood Emperor and Astro Emperor were still playing chess outside. They did not move. Astro Emperor was holding a chess piece in midair, like a statue. Blood Emperor was squinting. He had a cup of tea in his hand, but he did not drink it. He was like a statue. Lu Li had calmed down after 3 years. He was already used to being in a soul state. He pondered for a long time, but still couldn't think of any way. Over the past 3 years, he had refined a lot of destructive energy. He had already refined several thousand drops of super destruction god elixir. This divine elixir of destruction was black and exuded a terrifying aura. One look was enough to tell that it was an extremely terrifying thing. The force of destruction outside could easily kill an average Saint King. Lu Li had a feeling that not even a warrior who was infinitely close to the absolute completion of the divine liquid of destruction could stand it. Of course, these were all Lu Li's speculations and there was no way to verify them. So what if he could kill a powerhouse that was infinitely close to the great perfection realm? He couldn't get out at all, nor could he condense a physical body. So what was the point of the divine liquid of destruction being so powerful? Over the past 3 years, due to the crazy absorption of heaven and earth spiritual chi, the Dharma realm's origin energy had multiplied several times, and the Dharma realm had also grown a lot larger. It was a pity that Lu Li did not care about that. No matter how much origin energy he had, it wouldn't matter how big the Dharma realm was. During the 3 years, Lu Li clearly felt his soul was weakening. He did some calculations. If he didn't find a way, in 20 years at most, his 3 primary souls would vanish. By then, he would truly be a lonely soul. Lu Li had to keep on cultivating and figure out a way. Soon, 5 years had passed. It had been 9 years since Lu Li became a soul. The Dharma realm was still absorbing the energy of destruction. There were hundreds of thousands of drops of divine liquid of destruction in the Dharma realm. If he were to sell them, he couldn't even tell how many celestial stones he could get. The divine liquid of destruction might be as powerful as the red-purple divine liquid. 1 drop could be sold for 1 billion celestial stones. How much would the hundreds of thousands of drops of divine liquid of destruction be worth? Also, the Dharma realm was producing more and more divine liquid of destruction. Could it be that the destructive power outside is endless? Luli suddenly thought of something. He had been absorbing the energy of destruction for 9 years. Was the energy of destruction out there endless? If all the energy of destruction was absorbed, would his soul be able to go out? Would he have a chance to find a top-level relic to condense a physical body? On this thought, Luli generated a strand of soul power and sent it out of the Dharma realm to check. His soul power was like a pair of eyes that could sense the world around him. Okay. As soon as he sent out his soul power, his soul trembled. He clearly felt the energy of destruction was thinner. No, not much. 6 or 7 out of 10 were gone. There used to be countless energy of destruction flying around. Now there was energy of destruction as well. But every few breaths, only a few strands of energy of destruction would come. The energy of destruction nearby was almost gone. The ones that came were coming from the distance. Though there was still an endless amount of energy of destruction in the distance, Luli might be able to absorb all the energy of destruction here over a long period of time. Whoosh, Luli's soul power wandered around. It was not fast. After a while, it was torn apart by a strand of energy of destruction. There is hope. Luli's soul trembled again. He felt he could see the light. Even if he could absorb all the energy of destruction, he might not be able to find the top-level materials to condense a physical body. But at least there was hope. Cultivation, I want to cultivate soul power. Luli was excited. He had made up his mind that he would continue to cultivate his soul power during this period of time. He had to think of a way to make his soul remembrance more agile, faster, and wider the range of his soul remembrance. Inside the eye of destruction was a strange world. There were insects in this world. There were many insects on the skeletons. It meant that some materials could be born here as well. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth was rich here. It was possible that top-level materials could be born here. Hope. Luli felt he had come back to life. There was no longer any confusion or fear in his heart. All he felt was excitement. He was like a dying man who saw the last straw to save his life. Buzzing, Luli once again released a strand of his soul psyche to have a closer look. He believed that in 10 years, the energy of destruction here would be extremely thin. By then, he would be able to control his soul power and even the soul-devouring bead to search around. For now, he could not act rashly. The soul-devouring bead would explode after another 2 attacks. Without the soul-devouring bead, his soul would be torn apart by the energy of destruction. There is a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour. I hope the heavens will stop messing with me, or I will be doomed eternally. Luli thought to himself. Then, he went to closed-door cultivation. He stopped thinking and focused on studying soul power. Third Master. Chapter 3270. After the assassination attempt by the Assassin Organization and the extortion of 5 billion celestial stones, the Rainbow Race stopped making trouble for the Lu family. With the protection of the God of Death, the Rainbow Race couldn't do anything even if they wanted to. That would only increase the casualties and push the Rainbow Race into the abyss. The family leader of the Rainbow Race ordered a general retreat. Many universes that did not have many resources were given up. The Rainbow Race only managed the universes that were important. At the same time, the Rainbow Race was sealed off. From that day on, the Rainbow Race would not be in contact with the outside world. Outsiders could not enter their universes. The Rainbow Race had to keep a low profile for a while to recover the overall strength of the race, recuperate and train their powerful warriors. The warriors of the Lu family and the other families were relieved. Because of Luli, they were respected and taken care of by the God of Death. The Rainbow Race lived a comfortable life in other universes. Many of them even arranged marriages with disciples of the major families. It was said that Lu Li had passed away. The fact that they were still taking care of Lu Li's family meant that they were not after anything else, just out of respect. The major families worked hard as well. They all knew that Lu Li had helped them a lot. He had brought them to such a grand stage, given them so many resources and given them such a high starting point. If they didn't work hard themselves, they would only bring shame to Lu Li and shame him. Admittedly, the god of death was a great stage. Here, they could grow and improve quickly. What was more, with the resources provided by Lu Li, most of the warriors were improving every day, at a fast pace. Even though the disciples of the major families had dispersed, they did not forget who they were. Some of the major families even forgot about their families and regarded themselves as disciples of the Lu family. They had become disciples of the Lu family. They knew that only by working together could they survive in the chaotic universe. When Lu Ling was informed, she discussed with the family patriarchs of the major families and established a new organization called the Lu Alliance. The families under the Lu Alliance still existed. In this way, everyone would have a new title and be more cohesive. The disciples of the major families were overjoyed when the Lu Alliance was established. In this way, they had a common title, Disciples of the Lu Alliance. Originally, the god of death was not allowed to form small gangs or group. That being said, the leaders of the god of death said nothing about the Lu Alliance. Lu Li had made a great contribution to the Grim Reaper. The Lu family was too weak. It would take years for the Lu family to grow. Moreover, the Lu Alliance's disciples had to rely on the Grim Reaper to survive. It was estimated that after hundreds or thousands of years, the Lu Alliance would completely fuse with the Grim Reaper. Qi Wangshan, the sixth patriarch, and the others all chose to join the Grim Reaper and became Grim Reapers. Of course, their combat power was not enough. Therefore, they could not even reach the level of a gold-rank death god, let alone an ace death god. They could only be silver death gods. All of them felt as if they had obtained a second spring. They began to cultivate crazily, frantically increasing their battle prowess and striving to become stronger. Originally, they thought their strength would stop there. Coming to the chaotic star fields was like walking out of a dry well. Here, they could obtain higher-grade resources and see a wider world and divine object. They were also confident that they could become stronger. Everything was going well. The only pity was that there was still no news of Lu Li even though his jade talisman of life was still there. That being said, many higher-ups of the Lu Alliance were panicking. So many years had passed. If Lu Li could come out, he would have done so a long time ago. Soon, another 10 years had passed. Lu Li had been trapped in the Eye of Destruction for 19 years. Many higher-ups of the Lu Alliance had lost all hope. It had been 19 years and he could not come out. Maybe he would never come out again. Of course, some of them were excited. It had been 19 years and Lu Li was still alive. Did it mean that he was just trapped? Did it mean that his life was not in danger? Did it mean that Lu Li could come out? Boom, 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 boom. In a secret realm of the Yu family, Xiang Linglong was attacking a mountain in a frenzy. Under her attacks, the mountain was glaring and the noise was deafening. The mountain was protected by divine patterns, or else it would have been smashed. The mountain was used to test the abilities of warriors. Xiang Linglong had reached the peak of the sixth tribulation and was one step away from reaching the Emperor realm. Linglong and Yin Qingxi were talented. They had been provided with top-level resources over the years, and they had been diligent in cultivation. It was not easy for them to reach their current realm. Xiang Linglong was a seventh tribulation physique as well. But her cultivation was not as impressive as Lu Li's. Maybe it was because Lu Li had been through more hardships than Xiang Linglong. Every time a seventh tribulation physique went through a disaster, their abilities would soar. That was why Lu Li could improve so fast. "Darling, you must come out alive. How can we live without you? Without you, what is the point of me reaching the Emperor Realm and then the Saint Emperor Realm? Xiang Linglong murmured. Reaching the Emperor Realm in a Middle King realm might be something to be proud of. It could bring glory to a family and help the family grow. But in the chaotic star region, even reaching the Saint Emperor Realm was not a big deal, let alone the Emperor Realm. On the other hand, Ling Long and the other girls were not like those ambitious men. Once they reached the big stage of the chaotic star fields, they could continue to improve, develop, and become kings. Russell, 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 a slim figure walked over. Yin Qingxi said with a smile, "Congratulations, sister. You are one step closer to the Emperor Realm. I don't think most Saint Emperor Realm warriors are a match for your Frost fundamental principle." "Sister, don't make fun of me." Xiang Linglong stroked her hair in embarrassment. "Sister, you have been at this realm for a long time. You will reach the Emperor Realm soon, right?" "Yes." Yin Qingxi nodded. "If nothing goes wrong, I think it will be this year." "Congratulations in advance, sister." Xiang Linglong was delighted. Now that Yin Qingxi had reached the Emperor Realm, at least the Lu Alliance would have a great Emperor Realm warrior. Suddenly, Xiang Linglong remembered something and asked, "Sister Ling, I think it will be soon?" "Yes, in 1 or 2 years." Yin Qingxi nodded. "Sister Ling is very talented. She has been delayed by trifles over the years. Otherwise, she would have reached the Emperor Realm a long time ago." "Sister Ling, you are excellent." Xiang Linglong frowned and sighed. "Many young masters of the God of Death have been won over by her. I heard that some young masters proposed to our father through young Master Yu and Lady Qianqian, but they were all turned down by her. Sister Ling is not young anymore." Yin Qingxi exclaimed, "Some young masters of the God of Death are good. One of them is a descendant of a powerful warrior. One of young Master Yu's cousins is pursuing Sister Ling like crazy. I don't think Sister Ling will marry out." Xiang Linglong suddenly sent a mysterious voice transmission to Yin Qingxi. "Qingxi, do you think Sister Ling will fall in love with her younger brother? Does she want to marry her husband?" "Don't talk nonsense," Yin Qingxi replied. "If Sister Ling hears this, it will be embarrassing. What if it's not true? What's more, we don't even know what is going on with her husband." Sigh. Chapter 3271. Lu Li's situation was complicated. He had been cultivating soul skills for 10 years and he had made great progress. His soul could now fly to 30,000 miles away. His soul was fast and he could dodge the energy of destruction. The energy of destruction was reduced as well. Every dozens of breaths there would only be one strand of energy. Lu Li could use his soul to explore the nearby area. It was a pity. Apart from bones and bugs, there was nothing in an area with a radius of 30,000 miles. Lu Li didn't find any materials, not even elixirs, not to mention top-level ones. Lu Li was troubled. How could he rebuild his body without top-level materials? His interspatial rings and interspatial artifacts were all destroyed. Otherwise, he could have searched for suitable materials. What to do? Lu Li felt he had seen a ray of hope, only to realize that it was false. He was frustrated. He had to find another way. A day or two later, a bold idea came to him. He had to figure out a way to control the pellet to fly. His soul could only cover an area with a radius of 30,000 miles, which was his limit. Therefore, if he wanted to go on, he would have to fly the soul-devouring bead. There was no energy of destruction nearby, but once he was far away, there might be more energy of destruction. If the soul-devouring bead were to fly away, once it was attacked by the energy of destruction, Lu Li's soul would be shattered. How could he control the pellet to fly? The pellet was his, but he didn't have a physical body anymore. He could not control the pellet to fly. "I got it!" Luli had an idea. He flew the soul-devouring bead out and made it tangible. Then, he smashed it at the pellet. Whoosh! Luli was overjoyed. The pellet was smashed away by the soul-devouring bead. The realm inside the pellet was boundless, but the pellet was small. As long as the pellet moved, the entire realm would move. Actually, this was not right. The realm should be in the Sumru space, and the pellet was just the entrance. Luli flew the soul-devouring bead over and smashed at the pellet. The pellet was pushed away. The soul-devouring bead could be activated with soul energy. Luli had plenty of soul energy left. After all, his soul was as strong as that of a saint king at the middle stage. Phew, phew, from the distance came a surge of destructive energy. Luli sent the soul-devouring bead into the Dharma realm at once. The destructive energy was absorbed easily. When the energy of destruction was absorbed, Luli took out the soul-devouring bead and used it to propel the pellet forward. The speed was not fast, but the pellet was moving forward. There was not much energy of destruction nearby. Soon, Luli used the soul-devouring bead to push the pellet forward for more than 30,000 miles. The energy of destruction here was stronger but thinner. Continue forward. Luli pushed the pellet forward. After another tens of thousands of miles, he stopped the pellet. Then, he used his psychic power to check for treasures. His soul remembrance scouted nearby. However, before he could completely scan the area, annihilation was torn apart by a strand of annihilation power. Luli released another strand of his soul power. This time, he made it clear. There was nothing in an area with a radius of 30,000 miles. Apart from some skeletons, there were some insects. Luli had no other choice but to push the pellet forward and begin his journey of searching for treasures. The world inside the Eye of Destruction was probably very big. He just didn't know if there were any heavenly treasures. Half a month, 1 month, 3 months. Luli had searched for millions of miles but to no avail. In the depth of the space, there were no skeletons or insects. Apart from the energy of destruction, there was nothing. Much of the energy of destruction in the world had been absorbed. Luli had flown for millions of miles. The energy of destruction here was thin as well. It did not have a great impact on his soul power. Luli was troubled. He had searched for such a long distance without finding anything. Did that mean that there were no treasures in here? That being said, apart from searching, there was nothing else for Luli to do. He pushed the pellet forward. Whether he could find anything was up to his luck. 3 months, 5 months, 1 year. Luli didn't even know how far he had searched. The world inside the Eye of Destruction was vast and boundless. Luli had been flying forward without turning at all. He didn't see anything familiar. He didn't feel like he was in a formation of illusion. Once again, Luli was confused and exhausted. He was showing signs of mental breakdown. He really couldn't take it anymore. After so many years, his soul had been weakened. Now, such a boring search and being disappointed again and again could really cause one to have a mental breakdown. Luli had a strong mind. If he were another warrior of the same realm, he would have lost his soul. Let's stop and take a rest. Luli had an idea in his soul. He wanted to sleep and have a good rest. However, he knew that he couldn't fall asleep. The more he was in such a situation, the more he shouldn't fall asleep. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would never wake up again. He had been a soul for 20 years. His 3 primary souls were weak and on the verge of dissipating. How could he sleep at such a critical moment? It was possible that his primary souls would vanish if he slept. Since he could not sleep, then he had to use the pellet to continue the search. Luli was not going to believe this. He flew the pellet forward. He did not believe that the world inside the Eye of Destruction was endless. 3 months, 5 months, 9 months. Luli's soul was getting weaker and weaker. He had a feeling that in 2 or 3 years, his 3 primary souls would vanish completely. By then, he would be left with only the 7 physical souls. By then, not even an almighty God would be able to save him. A human's soul was divided into 3 souls and 7 physical souls. The 3 souls were the primary souls, the support of the soul. Without the 3 souls, the soul would vanish. As for the 7 physical souls, they were the branches and leaves of the soul. Even if the primary souls were to vanish, they wouldn't vanish anytime soon. As long as there was soul energy, the 7 physical souls could survive for many years. Lu Li's soul was exhausted. He hadn't slept for a long time. The more he slept, the more he dared not to. He was afraid that once he slept, he would never wake up again. Similarly, Lu Li didn't find anything during the 9 months. It was like he was in an endless void. There was nothing, not even a worm. Keep going, keep fighting, 3 months, 5 months. When Lu Li's soul was exhausted and he was about to fall asleep, he suddenly sensed something. He seemed to have sensed some fluctuation of spiritual qi nearby, and it was quite strong. It seemed that the spiritual qi nearby was surging toward one direction. What is going on? Lu Li's soul trembled. His tiredness was gone. He pushed the pellet toward the direction of the fluctuation at once. After 6 hours, he finally found where the spiritual qi was converging. He used his psychic power to check, and his soul trembled. If he had a physical body, he would be in tears of joy. He had found a piece of material, and it was a top one, a peerless one. Chapter 3272. In front of him, a huge swirl appeared. The swirl was made up of the energy of destruction. Spiritual energy from all directions was surging into the swirl. In the center of the swirl, there was a tangible liquid. The liquid seemed to be made up of the energy of destruction and spiritual energy in heaven and earth. In the center of the liquid was a human figure. Yes, it was a human figure. Lu Li could see it clearly with his psyche. But it was not a human, more like a fruit with human nature. The fruit was neither small nor large. It was about the size of a child. It had no facial features. Apart from the shape, it was nothing like a human. The fruit was dark gold in color. It looked like a child sitting in midair with his legs crossed. Is this the mortal fruit? Lu Li was not sure. He had never seen the mortal fruit before, nor had he seen a picture of it in book. He had only read some descriptions. No. After a while, Lu Li denied it. The mortal fruit seemed to be colorful, and it smelled strange. The fruit had no smell. Of course, Lu Li couldn't smell it now. Whether it was the mortal fruit or not, this was Lu Li's only chance. He must seize it. If the treasures could not rebuild his body, then Lu Li would die for sure. So much energy of destruction. Lu Li used his psyche to check again. The energy of destruction had reached a horrifying intensity. But it was not a problem for him. He could absorb all the energy. He controlled the soul-devouring bead to push the pellet over slowly. There was so much energy of destruction. One careless move and the soul-devouring bead could be destroyed. At the edge of the swirl, Lu Li controlled the soul-devouring bead to enter the Dharma realm. The pellet was sucked into the swirl. Lu Li controlled the Dharma realm to absorb the energy of destruction. The swirl in the Dharma realm spun rapidly. The energy of destruction from all directions was sucked in. There was a lot of energy of destruction here. However, with the speed of the Dharma realm, Lu Li believed it would take less than 3 months for all the energy of destruction here to be absorbed. The main reason was that the energy of destruction here was so dense that it was easy to absorb. Lu Li was exhausted. Now he was excited. He wished he could absorb all the energy of destruction. He began to feel uneasy because he only had one chance. If this heaven and earth treasure could not condense a physical body, then he would be completely hopeless. Time flew by, but to Lu Li it was slow. Soon, 3 months had passed. Almost all of the destructive energy outside had been absorbed, leaving only a few hundred strands. Luli pushed the pellet to absorb the energy. When all the energy of destruction was absorbed, Luli released his psychic power to check the treasure carefully. After an hour of careful observation, Luli was sure that there was no energy of destruction around the treasure. The liquid around the fruit should not be harmful to souls. He controlled the strand of soul remembrance to enter the liquid. Indeed, his soul remembrance wasn't harmed. However, the heaven and earth treasure seemed to be alarmed. It trembled. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li's soul power had no attacking power, the heaven and earth treasure would have flown away. Godly medicines had their own spirit. Although they did not have high intelligence, if they sensed danger, they would definitely escape immediately. Luli flew the soul-devouring bead over and slowly entered the liquid. Luli didn't use any soul energy, nor did he show any killing intent. Of course, since his soul was in the soul-devouring bead, it was hard for him to show any killing intent. Buzzing, when Luli was approaching, the fruit seemed to have sensed danger. It trembled violently and was about to fly away. At that moment, Luli controlled the soul-devouring bead to enlarge and then turned intangible. The soul-devouring bead enveloped the fruit. When the fruit was enveloped, the bead became tangible again. The fruit was trapped in the soul-devouring bead. Luli's soul was overjoyed. He controlled the soul-devouring bead to enter the realm of magic at once. When he was in the realm of magic, Luli let the fruit out. He was relieved. Now that the fruit was here, it would never be able to get away. Now that he had the heaven and earth treasure, it was time to condense a physical body. As a matter of fact, Luli's physical body was destroyed once when he was going through the heaven tribulation. But back then, he used thunderbolts and the mark in his soul to reconstruct his physical body. Thunderbolts had the power of destruction and rebirth. But there was no thunderbolt here. Even though there was a top-level heaven and earth treasure, Luli didn't know how to condense it. His soul was still intact and had all the marks of his physical body. If it were a new one, it would be easy. But relying on the heaven and earth treasure would be troublesome. Let me have a look. Luli gathered a strand of his soul and sent it into the realm of magic. The realm of magic was startled and it danced around in the realm of magic. However, the realm of magic was a sealed world. Where could the fruit go? Luli controlled the soul-devouring bead to catch up with it. He used his soul to check the fruit carefully. An hour later, Luli knew what to do. The fruit was extraordinary. It was powerful and contained powerful energy. The fruit must have absorbed a great deal of energy of destruction and Xian energy in heaven and earth. That was the essence of heaven and earth, the soul of all beings. The fruit must have other miraculous abilities. It was just that Luli could not find out now. Luli retracted his soul and began to think. He recalled the books he had read over the years and tried to figure out a way to condense a physical body. A month later, Luli was confident. He had figured out the way and the steps to condense a physical body. The physical body was the root, the soul was the source, and energy was the source. A warrior's physical body was the root. To condense a physical body, 3 steps were needed. The first step was to fix the soul. To put the soul into the fruit, let the soul control the fruit and integrate with it. If the integration could not be completed, then the soul would have no root and no place to rest. Naturally, the soul would lose control of the physical body. The soul would dissipate and eventually die. Fixing the soul was important. Without fixing the soul, everything else would be meaningless. Once the soul and the fruit were integrated, the second step would begin, reshaping the physical body. Using the mark in the soul, Luli could transform the fruit into the physical body in his memory. The human body was a miraculous existence. Nothing could go wrong, not even a bone or a blood vessel. Otherwise, the physical body would not be complete. Not only would it affect the warrior's cultivation and abilities, but the physical body might not be able to exist for a long time. After the second step was completed, There was only the last step left, purification. After all, the physical body was not his own and it was not reshaped with thunderbolt. The physical body would be different from before. There would be all kinds of discomfort, disharmony, and imperfections. Therefore, the physical body must be cleansed and transformed again, just like how a worm would turn from a cocoon into a butterfly and be reborn. The mark, impurities, and all other external things would be removed and a perfect physical body would be formed. We'll start in 6 hours. If we don't succeed, we'll die. Luli was not in a hurry. Instead, he emptied his soul. The reshaping of the physical body must be completed at one go. Therefore, his soul needed some rest. Of course, he could not fall asleep. He forced himself not to think about anything, relax and rest. 6 hours later, success or failure depended on this. Chapter 3273. 6 hours later, Luli began to rebuild his body. First, he had to fix his soul. He flew the soul-devouring bead over and said, "Blood Fairy, activate the divine pattern." Luli had cut off the spiritual connection with the tempest of thunder but not Blood Fairy. She was in the realm of magic. Before Luli's soul was destroyed, he did not cut off the spiritual connection. Treasures with spirits could fly. Luli's soul had to enter the fruit and merge with it. Therefore, he could not move the fruit, which required a divine pattern. It was easy to set up such a divine pattern. Blood Fairy did it easily. A red glare came out. Following that, a mysterious force field appeared. The fruit could not move. It was suppressed. Luli flew the soul-devouring bead over. The fruit sensed danger and began to tremble. However, because of the divine pattern, the fruit could not fly away. It could only tremble. Buzzing, the soul-devouring bead shrank, extremely small. It became intangible and flew into the fruit. This soul-devouring bead was a top-level holy weapon. It was of great help to Luli. Luli sent the soul-devouring bead into the head of the fruit. The fruit was trembling more and more violently. The fruit sensed a fatal danger. It was right. Luli was about to wipe away the bit of intelligence it had. If he wanted to completely fuse with the God fruit, he would have to erase his consciousness. Buzzing, soul energy was released from the soul-devouring bead again and again. Luli's soul was weak. That being said, his soul was as strong as a warrior at the middle stage of the Saint King realm. Luli's soul energy circulated around the fruit. The bit of intelligence it had was wiped away by Luli. The fruit stopped moving. Without intelligence it could not move. Luli did not control his soul because it needed a space to settle. The soul was a very wonderful thing. It could not be placed in any random place, or else it would dissipate even more. Luli began to mobilize more soul energy. He began to squeeze out a space in the head of the fruit. Space in the soul. It was a slow process because Luli could not destroy the fruit. Therefore, he could only compress it bit by bit, slowly forming and stabilizing this space. This process took Luli 10 days. After 10 days, the ideal space in his soul appeared. After he was sure that everything was fine, he flew in the soul-devouring bead and his soul came out from the soul-devouring bead and went into the space in his soul. At the moment, there was a lot of soul energy in the space of Luli's soul. An ocean of soul was formed. Luli's soul entered the ocean of soul. The first step of soul fixation was half done. After the soul was settled, it still needed to fuse with the God fruit. If it couldn't be fused, it wouldn't be considered a success, and it wouldn't be able to control the God fruit. The process was even slower. Luli controlled his soul energy to enter every part of the fruit so that the fruit could get used to his soul, accept it, and integrate with it. This process would take Luli at least half a year. This period of time was crucial. If he could succeed, he would have to pay for it. At least, he wouldn't die in a short time. After his soul was settled, it wouldn't dissipate anymore, and his three main souls would be stabilized. Lu Li's method was working. Now it was up to the God Fruit. If the God Fruit was not suitable for building a body, it would resist the integration. Once that happened, Lu Li would be at his wits' end 1 month, 3 months, 5 months. Lu Li's soul suddenly trembled. Once again, he had the urge to burst into tears of joy. Today, Lu Li felt he had integrated with the God Fruit. His flesh and blood were connected. He and the God Fruit were inseparable. It was as if he had taken control of a peerless weapon and the God Fruit had become a part of him. Sleep. Lu Li didn't care about anything else. His soul was no longer afraid of dissipating. The powerful energy in the God Fruit was nourishing his soul. He didn't have to worry that he would never wake up again. It had been a long time since he let his soul rest. Now that the soul fixation was successful, his soul that had been tense for so long couldn't stand it anymore. He fell into a deep sleep. Lu Li slept for more than 10 days. When he woke up, he felt refreshed. First, he checked and found that his soul had recovered a lot. He was more integrated with the God Fruit. More importantly, there was a small change in the space of his soul. At first, it was round, but now it was oval. This was the result of his evolution. Making sure that everything was fine, Lu Li moved on to the second step, reshaping the body. The fruit seemed to be in the shape of a human. As a matter of fact, it had nothing to do with a human. It didn't have any human organs, bones, or blood vessels. Reshaping the body was an arduous process. If the reshaping was unsuccessful, then the body would be of no use other than to protect his soul. How should I reshape the body? Although Lu Li had thought through some of it, he hadn't thought through the details yet. This time, he spent 15 or 16 days thinking about it, making deductions and verifying them. Let's go. Lu Li had completely integrated with the God Fruit. Therefore, he could mobilize the energy in the God Fruit. He began to reshape the body. The God Fruit began to change, growing larger and larger. According to Lu Li's spiritual imprint, the God Fruit was restoring his original body bit by bit. Hands, legs, facial features, hair, D*ck, everything was the same as before. Lu Li didn't even make his D*ck thicker. Of course, Lu Li could turn himself into any race he wanted, such as the Guis or the wild race. But what would be the point? Would he be a Guis just because he looked like the Guis? Would he have the strong body and skills of the Guis? Lu Li was proficient in skill of transfiguration. He could become any race he wanted. Therefore, he didn't have to change his appearance. He was satisfied with his own. The appearance was easy to reshape. In just over a day, a brand new Lu Li appeared in the magic realm. Of course, this Lu Li was still a walking dead, or a vegetable. He looked fine on the outside, but there was nothing inside. Reshape the bones. Lu Li began the second step of reshaping the body, the most difficult one, reshaping the bones. The human body was like a tree, and the bones were the backbone. The bones were the support of the human body. If the bones were not reshaped well, the body would be useless. How can I reshape the bones? The God Fruit contained flesh and powerful energy. Lu Li could use the energy to transform the flesh into bones. But if the flesh was the same in strength and hardness, then wouldn't the bones be the same as the flesh and organs? This was not the normal structure of the human body. Therefore, Lu Li had to rely on external forces, or energy. Origin energy. Lu Li thought of an idea. He had an endless supply of origin energy in the magic realm. He could mobilize a large amount of origin energy to reshape the bones. The strength and hardness of the reshaped bones must be horrifying. The God Fruit had absorbed a great deal of energy of destruction and Xian Qi in heaven and earth. Lu Li could tell that the God Fruit was strong. How strong would the reshaped body be? Lu Li was looking forward to it. Third Master. Chapter 3274. Buzzing, Luli controlled the body to move towards the source of energy and then let the body directly into the source of energy. He began to build the bones. The bones were the most important. If the bones were not built first, then nothing else would make sense. There were 206 bones in a human being. Luli first built the spine, which was called the keel in the folk. It was the most important bone for a human being. Luli kept on absorbing the source of energy and then mobilized the energy in the body to squeeze the flesh of the fruit so that a spine would appear in the body. He had a complete spiritual imprint, so he knew everything inside the bones like the back of his hand. It was not too difficult to build it, but it would take some time. It was like carving a piece of art. Nothing could go wrong. The flesh of the fruit was being compressed and refined. The source of energy was being mobilized to integrate with the flesh of the fruit. The powerful energy in the body helped the spine to take shape. After more than a day, the most important spine was built. Luli did not stop. He kept on absorbing the source of energy and pouring it into the spine. He wanted to integrate more source of energy into the spine and make it stronger. 3 days, 5 days, 8 days. Finally, the spine stopped absorbing the source of energy. Luli began to build the other bones. The spine was the most important, just like the beam of a house. Once it was built, the rest would be easier. Luli began to build the other bones. He started with the skull, then the ribs, and then the hand and foot bones. He had so much source energy here that he was not stingy at all. He let every bone absorb until they could no longer. For months, Luli had finished building the 206 bones. He had lost 1/5 of his source energy, but Luli did not care. He even wanted to absorb all of the source energy. After all, this was source energy. The more he absorbed, the stronger his physical body would be. 4 months later, all the bones were built. The rest was easy. The prototype of the house was built. All that was left was to decorate and fill in. Luli had a complete spiritual imprint, so it was easy to build. After spending another 5 months, his physical body was completely formed. His internal organs, blood vessels, meridians, hands and feet, facial features, penis, balls, and so on were all formed. It was exactly the same as what Luli saw in his spiritual mark. If a warrior used psychic power to check, Luli would be a complete person, no different from before. The second step, body remodeling, success. From the outside, Luli looked like a complete human being. There was blood flowing in his body, his heart was beating, and his breathing was steady. He looked no different from a normal human being. That being said, if a human were to come close, they would be able to tell that Luli was not a human being, not even a living being. Luli did not have the presence of a human being or a living being. It was like a puppet. Though it looked no different from a human being, it was not alive. That was to say, Luli's body was still dead. He had not come back to life in a real sense. How can I survive? Luli was a bit worried. He knew very well that the human body was a natural formation. The formation was running all the time, absorbing spiritual chi from heaven and earth, generating energy needed by the human body and discharging impurities. Even mortals were absorbing spiritual chi from heaven and earth. The food they ate, the water they drank, and the air they breathed were all nurtured by heaven and earth. They were all transformed from spiritual chi from heaven and earth. It wasn't just humans. Even animals, plants, strange races, and all other living beings had complete natural formations in their bodies. Without a formation, one could not absorb spiritual chi from heaven and earth. Then one would be a dead thing, not a living thing. As a matter of fact, Luli's body could absorb energy from heaven and earth. That being said, Luli felt he was not alive yet. It was highly possible that his body was modified and not remolded. The natural formation in his body was not activated. Never mind. Let's purify first. Luli decided to go for the third step. He would first cleanse the body, remove the impurities and make it perfect. Maybe by then, his body could come back to life. Purification required external energy as well. The energy inside the body could not be purified. Luli began to absorb the source energy first. He used it to cleanse his body over and over again, forcing out the impurities in his body bit by bit. However, after several tries, Luli realized that it was useless. Many parts of his body were built with source energy. Therefore, cleansing with source energy would only result in the integration of the source energy. The impurities could not be removed. Similarly, the energy inside the body would not work either because it was of the same origin. Luli had to look at the other energies in the realm of magic. In the realm of magic, there was the purple divine liquid, the liquid of poison, and the liquid of destruction. Needless to say, the liquid of poison would only corrode and destroy his body. There was not much purple divine liquid left. What was more, the liquid of destruction could not be cleansed. Then, there was only the super liquid of destruction left. Using the liquid of destruction to cleanse my body? I am losing my mind. Luli put on a bitter smile. The super liquid of destruction must be horrifying. It could even destroy the body of a warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate level. Was he going to use it to cleanse his body? Was he sure that after using 1 or 2 drops, his body would be destroyed? Right now, he had no way of getting a second heavenly item. If his physical body was destroyed, then he would be completely finished. The thing was, he had nowhere else to go. His body was not a living thing, and it could easily go wrong. He could not walk out of the eye of destruction with this body. No, this fruit is nurtured by the energy of destruction. Maybe it is not afraid of the liquid of destruction. Luli thought of this. The fruit had absorbed a large amount of energy of destruction. It was possible that it had developed a resistance to the energy of destruction. Let's see. A glint of madness rose in Luli's eyes. He walked over and approached the liquid of destruction. Then, he sat down with his legs crossed. Making sure that everything was fine, he flew a drop of liquid of destruction toward him. Whoosh! He reached out one hand toward the liquid of destruction and the other hand was ready to move at any time. If something went wrong, he would cut off this hand without hesitation. Luli reached out slowly and soon, the divine liquid of destruction was in his hand. What happened next surprised Luli. The divine liquid of destruction glowed and then disappeared into his body. It's okay, Luli was overjoyed. He controlled that drop of liquid of destruction to move around his body at once. A moment later, he was even more overjoyed. The liquid of destruction was powerful. It could cleanse his body, transform his body, and expel impurities. Liquid of destruction, here I come. He grabbed at the void and sent dozens of drops of liquid of destruction into his body. The liquid of destruction circulated quickly in his body, washing away the impurities and then being absorbed by his body. My body is growing stronger. Luli could clearly feel that his body was growing stronger. Without any hesitation, he kept sending the liquid of destruction into his body. No matter what the result of the cleansing would be, at the very least, his body would grow stronger and more horrifying as he absorbed the liquid of destruction. Third Master. Chapter 3275. It took Luli 3 months to cleanse his body, and he had used up more than 10,000 drops of divine perishing liquid. If he could leave this place, how many celestial stones could he buy with the 10,000 drops of divine perishing liquid? Luli was cleansing his body with celestial stones at a high price. 3 months later, Luli's body was perfect, without any impurities. There was no smell of fruits. It was as if he had become a pure human being, one with flesh and blood. However, Luli still did not come back to life. His hands and feet were the same as a human's. Even his hair was the same. His skin was warm and elastic. If Luli wanted to, he could pee. That being said, Luli did not feel alive. His body was still a walking dead, a dead thing. There was no smell of a human being. He was like the most miraculous and perfect statue in the world. But it was not a human being, but a living one. Luli was depressed. Not coming back to life meant that he could not cultivate his body, could not control it perfectly, and could not command it like an arm. This body was like a piece of treasure. It was connected to his flesh and blood and had a spiritual connection with him, but it was not his body. Luli had been thinking about it for months, but to no avail. He gave up thinking and fell asleep at once. He slept for 4 to 5 days. When he woke up, he began to test his body. His body began to run at high speed, but this run scared it. His speed was shockingly fast, 20 times faster than his previous physical body. He was only relying on his body. He did not use any source of energy or strange energy in his body. Boom! He stretched out his fist and smashed it in the air. A terrifying force surged out and cracks appeared in the air. The Dharma realm trembled violently. It was as if it would collapse from just one punch from him. Oh my, Luli exclaimed to himself. This body was so strong that it could be as strong as the purple divine liquid. That was to say, his body was as strong as a middle-stage Saint King, or even stronger. Boom, boom, boom. Luli punched several more times. However, when he punched for the 3rd time, the energy in his body suddenly surged up and ran amok in his body. His expression changed drastically, and he felt like his body was going to explode at any moment. It was as if his body would explode in the next second and turn into ashes. Not good, this fleshly body's grand array isn't complete yet. There are many parts of the body that are not in harmony. If I forcefully attack it, it will cause the energy to become chaotic. This fleshly body is going to be in big trouble. Luli was taken aback. He didn't dare to move. He tried his best to stop the energy in his body. However, that energy was completely out of his control. Instead, the energy absorbed by his physical body was affected, causing even more energy to crazily circulate within his body. Think of a way. Think of a way. Otherwise, my fleshly body will explode and my soul will be destroyed as well. Luli sensed the most critical moment. He could actually control his soul to enter the soul-devouring bead and let it leave the body immediately. But in that case, all of his previous efforts would be in vain. His physical body would be gone, and his soul wouldn't exist for long either. In the end, he would still die. There's only one way. Luli thought quickly and came up with the only solution, which was to fight fire with fire. He mobilized more energy to suppress the rampaging energy. Although his body might not be able to withstand it and might explode, that was the only way. Whoosh! Luli controlled the source of energy to surge into his body at once. Then, he controlled the source of energy to form a torrent to suppress the rampaging energy in his body. 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. Numerous sources of energy were mobilized. However, the source of energy was affected and it was rioting along with the original energy. Luli was dumbfounded. But what else could he do at this juncture? He had to continue to mobilize his source of energy. At the same time, he mobilized the energy of destruction. Numerous sources of energy and energy of destruction surged in, forming a torrent that surged toward the rampaging energy. Okay. When Luli had mobilized 1/3 of his source of energy and 1/4 of his energy of destruction, the torrent of energy finally surpassed the one in his body. But there was a problem. Inside his body, 2 streams of energy were chasing each other and trying to suppress each other. They were running around in his body, but his body could not withstand such a huge amount of energy. It was as if Luli's body was a desert with 2 torrents of water raging in it. If the desert was large enough and hard enough, then it might be able to withstand the 2 torrents. If the desert was not strong enough, then it might be torn apart by the 2 torrents. What made Luli happy was that his body was strong, ridiculously so. Otherwise, it would have exploded a long time ago. That being said, Luli still had to figure out a way to stabilize the energy. Otherwise, it would explode sooner or later, and his body would not be able to withstand it. Tai Chi. Luli remembered an image. Tai Chi was two fish, one white and the other black. They were chasing each other and circling around each other. This could form a cycle and stabilize the energy. Luli guided the torrent of energy to circle around inside his body, forcing and suppressing the other torrent of energy to do the same. After the time for one incense stick to burn, the two torrents of energy circled around his body like the Tai Chi 8 diagrams. In this way, at least the energy wouldn't wander around and cause a violent explosion. His body was safe for now. There was another problem. The torrents of energy could not keep circling around. Otherwise, more energy would be drawn out from his body. By then, the two torrents of energy would grow stronger and his body would not be able to withstand it. I must figure out a way to divide the energy. I must divide the energy in my body and store it in a fixed location. Luli was deep in thought. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he thought of the trace of the Great Path again. There might be more than 3,000 traces of the Great Path in his body. If he could seal the energy bit by bit according to the pattern of the trace of the Great Path, then wouldn't he be able to dissolve all the energy? Let's have a try. Luli had always been a man of swift and decisive actions. He mobilized his soul energy and entered the two torrents of energy. When the torrents of energy passed by the bone, Luli used his soul energy to seal some of the energy in the bone. It was possible that the energy would be drawn out when the torrents of energy were circling around. That being said, there was no other way for Luli to go. He had to seal the energy. 1, 2, 100, 500. Luli took actions quickly and sealed the energy in the bone. Unfortunately, some of the energy would be drawn out soon after they were sealed. That being said, Luli was too fast. He mobilized his soul energy to separate strands of energy and seal them. 1,000, 2,000. When Luli had sealed almost 3,000 strands of energy, there was still a lot of torrents of energy in his body. But he sensed that the torrents of energy were not as restless as before. They seemed to be calming down. 6 hours later, Luli had sealed 3,650 torrents of energy. He had sealed more than 3,000 torrents of energy according to the structure of the trace of the Great Path. Right at that moment, all of a sudden, the more than 3,000 strands of energy that were sealed in Luli's body glowed in white. Then a surge of strange power spread out. The torrents of energy in his body stopped moving at once. Also, at that moment, he suddenly felt that his body had come back to life. Third Master. Chapter 3276. There was a natural formation in the human body. It was invisible, and it was the core that coordinated the human body. It was like the main control of a machine. If something went wrong in the human body, the formation would adjust automatically. Of course, if something went wrong in a certain part, the human body would fall ill and die. That would mean that the formation was broken, which would lead to the collapse of the formation and the human body would die. Luli did not know how to set up the formation. If he were to rebuild his body, it would be replicated according to the spiritual imprint and the natural formation would come into being. But this time, Luli used treasured materials to modify his body. Naturally, there would be some problems that prevented the formation from coming into being. Naturally, his body could not come back to life. However, in order to suppress the violent energy in his body, Luli formed more than 3,000 traces of the Great Path. Unexpectedly, his body came back to life. The energy in his body calmed down completely. The traces of the Great Path contained an invisible power that could suppress all violent energy. At the same time, Luli felt his body was stronger than ever. Luli sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He checked his body over and over again. He didn't find anything wrong. He just felt his body was strong to an unimaginable degree. When his body was rebuilt, it should be about the middle stage of the Saint Emperor realm. Theoretically speaking, his body should be at the later stage of the Saint Emperor realm after absorbing more energy of origin and destruction. But Luli felt he could smash a Saint Emperor at the later stage of the Saint Emperor realm with one punch. If he used his full strength and mobilized the energy in his body, he might be able to smash a small universe. Of course, he would not do it directly. Instead, he would cause the universe to shake violently and then collapse, making the universe explode. Blow up a small universe? Then, is my body as strong as a warrior that is infinitely close to the consummate realm? Luli was shocked. If a warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm exerted his full strength, a small universe could collapse. After all, the space in a small universe was not stable. Let me rest and stabilize. Luli did not dare to move. The punches he made just now almost messed up the energy in his body, which could have destroyed his body. Even though he felt his body had come back to life, he did not dare to act recklessly. He sat on the ground and began to cultivate. He absorbed the Xian Qi in heaven and earth and tried to cultivate origin energy. Sure. Soon, Luli's meridians were filled with source energy. But he didn't try to build the pellet. Outside the Dharma realm was the pellet. He planned to merge it with the pellet after he got out. Condensing a divine elixir was useless. His original divine elixir had a Dharma realm. He circulated his origin energy in his body, guiding the energy in his body so that his flesh and bones could absorb it. This was to prevent the energy from going berserk again. After resting and cultivating for 10 days, all signs indicated that there were no problems with his physical body. He opened his eyes and prepared to go out. No, he suddenly thought of a problem. Previously, when he was able to enter the Dharma realm, he was in his soul-body state. It was because the soul-devouring bead had turned into an incorporeal form that he could enter. Could it be that he had to use the soul-devouring pearl to get out now? This Dharma realm has a spiritual connection with me. It's a part of me. Can I control the Dharma realm to teleport me out? An idea came to Luli's mind. The next second, he felt a white glare, and then he was outside with the pellet next to him. How magical! Luli exclaimed to himself. Then, he cut at his abdomen. A surge of violent energy gathered in his hand. He cut open his abdomen easily. He put the pellet in. There was no destructive force nearby. Luli didn't mind. He sat in the void and began to integrate the pellet with his body. The integration went smoothly. Luli had reserved a spot for the pellet. The pellet had a spiritual connection with him. It was a part of his body. Therefore, it only took him a day to integrate the pellet. Nice. Luli opened his eyes and shouted into the sky. His voice was so loud that it pierced through the clouds. He was overjoyed. It felt so good to come back from the dead. The joy of surviving a disaster filled his entire soul. His body was strong and he had absorbed a large amount of destructive force. Therefore, the eye of destruction was no longer a threat to him. He could absorb more destructive force directly. Whoosh! He dashed forward. He was as fast as a flicker of light, frighteningly fast. In an instant, Luli was hundreds of thousands of miles away. He stopped. His eyes were filled with shock and joy. His physical body was strong to a horrifying degree. He could be as fast as the battleship given to him by Emperor Yen. Of course, this was when he was not accelerating. In other words, he was only a bit slower than a warrior that was close to a warrior at the absolute realm. Boom! He suddenly punched out with all his strength. In an instant, he felt that more than 3,600 marks of the Great Path in his body had lit up. Then, countless powerful energies in his body were drawn, and finally, they whizzed out from his fist. A black shadow of fist smashed out. The space in front of Lu Li collapsed. A surge of horrifying energy spread out. Suddenly, a black hole with a diameter of 2 miles appeared in front of Lu Li. It was created by Lu Li's fist. He punched out a hole in the void. The fist could crack the sky. Lu Li was even more shocked. Just now, in that black shadow of fist, he sensed the horrifying destructive force. This was not an average punch, but the fist of destruction. The destructive force was of a high level. The fundamental meaning of destruction was one of the highest fundamental meanings. Lu Li's random punch contained such horrifying destructive force. Lu Li believed that if this punch landed on a warrior that was close to a warrior at the Absolute Realm, that warrior would either die or be seriously injured. After the punch, Lu Li checked his body at once, fearing that something might go wrong. He was relieved. Because of the trace of Tao, there was nothing wrong with his body. It was perfect. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li kept on punching. Huge and ugly holes appeared in the space nearby. Ripples spread out, horrifying and horrifying. Suffocating energy spread out. If there were regular warriors nearby, they would wet their pants. After a while, Lu Li was satisfied. He grinned. Not only did he escape from death, but he also gained a brand new and powerful body. It was a blessing in disguise. Wait, Lu Li rested for a while. He thought of something. He wondered if he could go back to the magic realm. Just as this thought came to his mind, his body suddenly flashed and then disappeared without a trace. In the next second, he felt that he had returned to the spell world. He was surprised. He could go in and out of the magic realm so easily? Did his elixir leave his body and reappear in the outside world? Wait a minute. My elixir is in my body. He checked himself. This time, the elixir was in his body. He was taken aback. He used psychic power to check outside the magic realm, only to find nothing in the void outside. No elixir. What is going on? What is going on? Lu Li was frightened. The elixir was the entrance to the outside world and the magic realm. Now that the elixir was in the magic realm, how could he see the outside world? Could it be that his entire body had turned into nothingness? He was in the Sumeru space. Get out. With a thought, his body flashed and he reappeared in the eye of destruction. He was still at his previous position. He was even more shocked. Not even he could understand what was going on. Third Master. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.